You've probably seen the movie Frozen, and potentially the movie Frozen 2. Um, they are not places you would usually expect to see a diplomacy game, but in fact, these characters from Frozen have played a diplomacy game. In the fanfiction Keep Them Guessing, written on Archive of Our Own by Reba McIncheese. And today we're going to go through, well, not the entire story. If you want to get all of the story elements, you can go and read the story for yourself. But we're going to commentate the diplomacy game that's played in this fanfiction. I'm here with Ezio. Hey, Ezio.
Hello.
Do you recognize the characters around the board here?
I think I recognize most of them. So I recognize Elsa, Anna, Olaf. I recognize Hans, and I recognize the one in the bottom right, but I forget his name.
Right, yes. Well, they are on the power rankings board on the right for our viewers, but Ezio cannot see that. Yes, Elsa is playing as England, Anna is playing as France, Olaf the Snowman is Italy. The guy at the bottom right is Kristoff. He's the guy with the reindeer in the movie. And he is playing as Austria. Hans. So in this fanfiction, Hans is transgender and is called Marie. But it's a little bit confusing because half of the characters on this board don't know that, and like they make a point of making sure that those characters don't know that. So they're referred to interchangeably as Hans and Marie. Throughout this commentary, we'll be calling her Marie, and you can see that from the power rankings on the board. The other two characters, these are not people who appear in the actual Frozen movies, but there is like a body of fanfiction work for Frozen, and these are people who were introduced in that body. So this person who's playing Russia is called Anton and is one of Marie's brothers. And the person who is playing Turkey is Anton's daughter, called Tosia. So there's like I think this is like part of 4 different fanfiction works or something that all focus on the kind of political state of Arundel and what their neighbor that this guy runs, Anton. And this diplomacy game is like part of that, and figuring out different people's motivations in the background. But again, we won't be covering that because it doesn't really relate to the game itself. It's stuff that happens around it. So, shall we get right into commentating this?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, well, before we go into Spring 1901, I do want to mention I do have some notes from the story points that directly relate to the board, and something that happens before Spring 1901 even that's very interesting is the way they select their countries. And this is why generally in face-to-face games you will have like a bag with one piece of each power, and people will reach into that bag and draw their power, and you'll figure things out that way. It's completely random, right? In competitive diplomacy, sometimes it's less random. Sometimes you have people seeded and then they select their powers and whatnot. In this game, they have a discussion as they're introducing the board, and people just say, I want this power, I want that power. So I think it's Anna chooses France immediately, which correlates pretty well with competitive diplomacy, right?
If you gave me a choice, in most situations, I would pick France.
Yes, and then Elsa picks England, like immediately afterwards, which is kind of...
Told me that my sibling was playing as France in a diplomacy game. I would pick England, yeah.
Yeah. This is like the kind of the reason why you shouldn't do your country selections like this, right? And then Marie chooses Germany. We have Olaf the Snowman goes something like, oh, this green country looks like a snake, I'll take the green country. And everyone is very relieved that they're not having to play Italy. And then the player who's playing Russia, he hasn't selected Russia at this point, talks Kristoff into selecting Austria. Basically saying, hey, this is a power that would really suit you. Which is, yeah, fun. I think the only people who have played diplomacy before, canonically in this fanfiction, are Marie, Anton, and Tosia, so the other four are learning the game here. And of course, they don't know that Austria is... I mean, it's not a terrible country competitively, right? But it is certainly the hardest country to play as a new player.
When I'm introducing diplomacy to friends, I warn whoever has Austria, and I try to make sure that people are nice to them at the start.
Yes. When I'm introducing, if there's not many new players on the board, I'll actually just specifically make sure that the newer players don't get one of the central three powers, because they are just really tough to play. I guess Italy is kind of debatable because it's so defensible, right? You're never gonna lose it early on. But you don't want to give a new player Austria straight up because they might just get eliminated in 1903 or 1902, and then that's not a great experience for their first game.
Yeah, there have been a couple people where I know they like Austria. The style of play, the high risk, high reward, grow really fast, do a lot of things, and die, and then get to move on to the next game. And so for them, I think it's okay. Whereas Italy, I feel like you don't really do anything most of the game, and so for them, but whatever. Equivalent. The point is, in this fanfic, the player who ends up playing Russia talks the newbie into taking over Austria, and then is presumably going to take advantage of this fact.
Yeah, I mean, it does give you, like, an indication of what kind of a person the player for Russia is. Anton, he's called. In the... Yeah, if you're playing with nice people in diplomacy, they probably do not try and talk the newbie into picking Austria. And then Anton and Tosia pick Turkey and Russia, and yeah, they're father and daughter, so I suppose they kind of balance out the sister on the other side in family relationship terms. Shall we move ahead to the spring?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Here we go. So, anything stand out to you about this board?
Well, yeah, actually, something does stand out to me on this board.
There is a certain power who certainly stands out.
Yeah, yeah, Austria stands out. A lot of the stuff in the West looks kind of normal, right? I think that Kiel into Holland is a little unusual, but nothing crazy. Venice into Piedmont's a little unusual, certainly not crazy. And then Russia does normal stuff, Turkey does normal stuff, and then yeah, there's Austria. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Austria's moves... I mean, honestly, I've seen movesets like this in Spring 1901 in the kind of games that we would never commentate in general, because games with new players, you don't want to just rag on new players for bad strategy, because they're picking up the game anyway, right? But I have definitely seen these kind of opening turns before, and it does not usually result in Austria doing very well. That's...
Yeah.
Yeah. No move towards Serbia, no move towards Greece, and they move towards Bohemia, that Kristoff has done.
Yeah.
In the story, in fact, prior to this in the story, Marie actually pitched a Western triple to Anna and Elsa, and they all agreed to it, and then these opening moves happened because Marie didn't trust that Anna and Elsa were going to stick to that, and Anna and Elsa indeed didn't stick to that, so yeah. But there's no indication of why Kristoff did the Vienna to Bohemia move in the very first phase. It comes out later.
I mean, my assumption is just that he talked to Russia in this case, and then it was all just them saying, "Hey, you should go attack Germany instead." But
yes, I mean, yeah, that's a pretty solid read. Yes, that is the case.
Yeah, that's great. And then what? Don't take Serbia because that's aggressive against the Turkish player, and you don't want to be aggressive against them. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see.
I don't
But
think
yeah,
it's ever actually explained why Kristoff entered two hold orders here, but I would suggest yes, it probably is just because he doesn't want to annoy anyone in the south or whatever, or was told that Greece is traditionally Turkish or something. I don't know.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm sure.
yes.
All right. I don't know. This is an exciting 0-1.
Yeah.
Shall we go to winter?
Well, do you want to hear the fall? So prior to the fall
Or
moves,
sorry, fall. Yeah,
yeah,
but before fall moves.
basically immediately as this happens, Marie goes to Kristoff and she says, "I'm." She goes to warn him about the RT and basically say, "Hey, this is not how you play Austria. Playing Austria like this is a terrible idea." And he goes, "I'm not buying that. Russia and Turkey clearly aren't allies. They bounced in the Black Sea," which is actually like something that new players do see as hostile when this is just
Yep.
standard things. So I've absolutely seen that reasoning used before as well.
Yeah, they can't be working together. Why would they be coordinating? They're wasting their time with those units. They would never coordinate to collectively waste their time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, to anyone unfamiliar with diplomacy, this is done just so that you don't, so that both players can't get into Black Sea, right? It's like it's an arranged bounce to make sure that both players keep to the alliance. Neither player can stab in this respect because if they do anything that they didn't say they were going to do, then the other player gets into Black Sea, and then that player gets the advantage, right?
Yeah, it's slightly inefficient, but it's a way around the prisoner's dilemma to ensure that neither party, like, it's you go into the prisoner's dilemma, you both agree to point the finger at each other, so that you don't get a particularly bad result. They can't get a better result by not. It's just unlike the prisoner's dilemma, where it's usually a very significant cost to screwing each other person over. In this case, it's not that big of a deal, so you both just agree to do it, and then it's fine.
Yes. I mean, in Russia's case, Fleet Sevastopol basically has nothing else to do on this turn anyway. If you go to Romania, that's just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Shall we move ahead to the fall?
Yes. Let's look at the fall. I'm excited.
Okay. Well, any thoughts on this one?
Um. Well, there's a lot going on, certainly. Um. Wow. Okay. Where to start? Uh,
Yeah, there's quite a
okay.
lot. I guess the main thing is like it's left as a cliffhanger in the story prior to the reveal of the moves, but Kristoff did actually like get convinced by Marie that Russia was not working in his best interest, and so went for Romania here. Obviously, left Vienna open to do so, but I think that's actually a fair move in this circumstance because you're probably, as Russia, you'd be expecting Austria to cover Vienna in some way. So this works out quite well for him, but of course he's not getting any supply centers as a result. That was as a result of his opening moves, pretty much.
Yep. But hey, he hasn't pissed off Turkey,
I mean,
and
Turkey's probably very
so
happy to have Serbia, right?
yeah, exactly. And now maybe Turkey and Russia will fight for real. Maybe.
Yeah, you would hope. Them bouncing
Or
in Armenia is kind of interesting. I would not want to propose that. I think,
yeah,
yeah, because if the other person goes to Black Sea, then you're at a huge disadvantage. But they agree to it and they go
yeah.
through with it, so it kind of indicates some degree of trust, right?
If you're Turkey and you know they that you're getting built, I could see you doing something like this. Um, but I think it's bad. I would never do it. Okay, but that's only one very small, like, that's only the East. We also see that Italy apparently figures out that Turkey is going for Serbia, and so Olaf decides to convoy straight into Greece. That's
Yes.
sweet.
It,
Nice read.
And the move into Tyrolia combined with it actually puts him in a pretty solid position. Although he's gonna have to choose a side there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But
No. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Then we have the West, where things are crazy. So you have Anna, who goes into north coast of Spain.
yeah,
Okay, you want to be friends with Olaf? Okay, that's fine. I normally take Portugal first with my fleet, but whatever, it's fine. It's probably going to take the other one anyways, so it's okay. And then you have Elsa going into the Helgoland Bight
yeah.
with the fleet in the North Sea. This is spicy.
It really
This is
is.
very spicy.
Well, it's certainly committing hard to being anti-Marie, right? Um,
Yeah, it's just like the most aggressive and not effective move possible.
yeah. I mean, so once you get another fleet into North Sea, that could actually be a pretty decent move. If you've managed to get into Heligoland Bight already and you're set up, the problem is now Germany has the chance to build in response, right? So they could build Fleet Kiel and then blow up your Heligoland fleet quite
Yes.
easily if you try and take
Yes.
North Sea. Um, yeah.
It's a very scary thing. Right, if you really want to go anti-Germany, I would push hard to get your army in Yorkshire convoyed into Belgium, maybe coordinate with France to do so. If that won't happen, then it's probably fine, I don't know, to do something else. Like bouncing in Denmark, for example, is another really effective quote anti-Germany move. And it keeps the army in Kiel so they can't build a fleet there. I don't know. I really don't ever recommend that England moves into Helgoland Bight with their fleet in the North Sea like this.
Yeah.
Um,
Basically, if you want to vacate North Sea, you have to have a really good reason for doing so, and Heligoland is not a good reason. Bouncing Denmark is really good because you don't even have to vacate North Sea to do it. And if you do
yeah,
vacate North Sea, you get the center, right? So Skagerrak is like a little. Well, I think Skagerrak is more effective than Heligoland, much more because it's harder to knock out. But even then, I would be worried about vacating North Sea for that.
I like Skagerrak much more also because it's more flexible. With your fleet in the Skagerrak, it works nicely with your fleet in Norway against Sweden. And so you can either go against Russia or Germany. It doesn't have to be anti-German, whereas your fleet in Helgoland Bight is only anti-German and is also adjacent to their home center, which puts them on red alert and stuff. So whatever. Look, it's a move that will certainly lead to some interesting games. It makes England's intentions quite clear pretty early on, which can be useful and can have some downsides.
Yes. Right. Is there anything else particularly notable here? I think that's kind of
Uh,
it, right?
yeah, as far as the strategy, we haven't talked about Russia's moves because Russia's moves were pretty straightforward. And so that's a good sign, I think, in this fanfic. Doing normal stuff is a good thing.
Yes. I mean, if Russia wanted to be totally safe, they could have. Well, A, they could have supported their move with Sevastopol instead of bouncing. Or B, they could have gone in from Galicia, but I think this was completely fair if you didn't think the Austrian was turning around, right?
Yeah,
Because being English here is just nice. Especially if Austria is too new to know that that's extremely aggressive. Um, yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna look through my notes real quick. So something important about the format of this story. Um, what they will usually do is they start the phase off by showing the spring moves. They start the chapter off by showing the spring moves, in fact, and then they do all the fall negotiation, and then they have the fall moves, and then they have like reactions to the fall moves, and sometimes they have some spring negotiations, but not always. Before the next chapter, so quite often you don't see the negotiation for the spring. It's mostly negotiation for the fall that goes through. So I tend to have less notes for the spring phases here, but I do actually have some notes for this spring phase in particular. Olaf has mentioned that he doesn't really get the game, but he loves seeing the colors move around, which I think his moves are like incredibly effective. They seem to be some of the strongest moves on the board for someone who doesn't get the game, right? Like, I could see a professional player playing something like this.
I would, all of these moves I could see at the final table of any professional tournament. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And what else have I got here? Yeah, so Anna and Elsa are 100% aligned. Anton, the Russian player, tries to break them up by going and talking to them, but it doesn't work at all. And Anton is also talking a bunch to Marie and saying, hey, you know, England, France are solidly against you. You're going to need to janissary for me, basically. And Marie goes, screw you, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to, like, if you're going to be like that, I'm just going to go to war with you instead. So that's certainly not the greatest start for either Russia or Germany in this position. I tend to agree with Anton in that circumstance. If there is a strong EF, you're gonna need Russia on your side as Germany. But the way he went about proposing it was certainly not a good thing. If someone...
I mean, the alternative approach, by the way, is just the Western Triple.
Yeah, well...
They're working together. They should just work with me too, and then we'll all be friends.
Would you go for a Western Triple with North the Sea moving to Heligoland here?
Well, part of the Western Triple would be them vacating that.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, we can just sing Kumbaya, and then we can stop playing diplomacy, and we can play it different.
Yeah.
And then once they've left the table and their orders don't get submitted, I take all of their dots.
That makes sense. But yeah, I mean... So yes, the Western Triple does work, but then again, Germany is kind of a janissary in that direction. I feel like in the Germany-Russia alliance here, it's a little more even. So, especially when you want to convince someone to do something that's like in their best interests already, you do not pitch it as saying, hey, you know, you can be my janissary. Most people are not going to accept that. So while Anton, I think, is correct in this circumstance in his assessments, he is fully at fault for this breakdown in communication. That's my my read on it from what I read in this chapter. That's basically everything before the spring. So shall we move ahead to the spring phase? Oh wait, we got winter first, right?
Yes, we now see the builds.
All right, builds. So we have Fleet Berlin, Army Kiel.
Okay.
Yeah, so the negotiations here that I mentioned, because of the way it formats as well, they have the winter moves like at the end of the chapter, so all of the negotiations technically happen before the winter, including the spring ones. It's a little confusing in that respect, but this...
Sure, so they negotiate builds and moves simultaneously. I kind of like that, right? I'm going to build this and then move or whatever, so you can do some interesting things.
It is kind of cool, but it also explains in this circumstance, I think Fleet Berlin is much more reasonable if you already know that Russia and Germany have super bad relations, right?
I mean, not really, but okay.
Yeah, you would prefer Fleet Kiel, 100%.
Well, specifically, I want an army in Berlin, because then I can get that army into Prussia, which is better against Russia. Right?
Oh, yes, that makes sense.
And so I don't care, because a Fleet Kiel and Fleet Berlin will both go into Baltic. Now, the fact that I don't have a fleet in Kiel is important, because I can't kill Helgoland.
Yes.
Which is a problem. But hey, whatever. If you think that England is on your side, despite being in Helgoland fight, then you can make this move. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Fleet Venice?
Fleet Venice is also super interesting. That's, I mean, I guess I mean, it's just bad, right? It could potentially be okay, but it can go into Adriatic. It could take Trieste, which is fine. The problem is it can't get anything beyond Trieste. So if you're attacking Austria, you really want an army there. And if you're not attacking Austria, you probably want to put the fleet in Naples just to, speed up your attack against everyone else and not make Austria super nervous. Yeah.
And Turkey waived the build.
Turkey did wave, yes, which is an interesting way of going about it. It's like early leader syndrome can be a bit of a nightmare. So, especially as Turkey, you're like, people are going to view you as very strong if you're on 5 centers after the first year. But that's in a competitive setting, right? I think you could have gotten away with building a fleet here and you would have been fine.
Yeah, or an extra army.
Yes. Uh, I really don't like the fact that Turkey doesn't have a southern fleet. It makes them super vulnerable to Olaf the Snowman. But I guess
Yeah,
maybe
because
if they're taking Olaf's statement that he's moving pieces around on the board at face value, like he just enjoys the colors, then maybe it's reasonable to not put anything against him or defensive on that front.
yeah, and Fleet Venice makes that seem pretty great.
Yeah, this is true. He's still got no defense on Aegean if Olaf does move to Aegean, but hey, if he does, you can always just take Greece, so
Yeah, and then he's not taking Tunis. So,
yep.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah. Uh, right, so shall we move ahead to the spring?
Sure.
Alright. So, spring moves. Anything stand out to you here?
Uh, well, there are more holds than I like to see normally
Yeah.
in these games. Um,
So this is going to be a bit of a consistent thing through the game. There are quite a lot of holds that occur, more than you would expect in a standard game. Uh,
okay.
but they're generally where the pieces aren't like mentioned in the story at all. They just a lot of things instead of. I think the maybe the author could have gotten away with like having moves here that didn't do anything instead of just having holds. So, for example, maybe Bulgaria tries to go for Romania or something. Although support hold Serbia would make more sense in the context of this because,
Yeah.
yeah,
Again, it's okay. The point is, there's very clearly a juggernaut going on, and if you actually have Turkey play competently from this position, Turkey's going to solo the game by like 1908, and so you don't want that to happen for your story to have the plot points you need. So you just have Turkey do something. That's
yeah,
okay.
that's exactly it. I think it's also kind of fair because in newbie games, I do see a lot of holds. It's like once someone is on their second or third game, they start realizing, hey, I should kind of always be doing something with the units, even if I don't have something immediately obvious to do. It probably makes sense to reposition them a little bit to like get some kind of advantage or throw a safety hold on something, safety support hold on something even. Um, but it's kind of reasonable that a newer player to it would issue a lot of holds. Of course, in Turkey's case here, I think they have played this game before, so that doesn't quite work out. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's fine. Um, not a problem.
okay. So in terms
Um,
of the actual moves, there's.
yeah.
I mean, is there any way you want to focus on first?
I mean, I think let's talk about Germany first, right? The center of everything.
Yes.
Um, why is she attacking Anna?
I think this is like a defensive move against Anna. There's not a lot of focus on the. I mean, again, as I mentioned, the spring moves don't tend to have that much explanation for why they happen. There's a lot of explanation for the fall moves usually. But here, I
Okay,
think it's like you have to choose someone to defend against, so they chose to defend against Anna instead of Elsa. Um, but
but I thought that Maria was really pissed at Anton.
yes, that is also true.
So
So
why not attack Anton?
that is a good question.
Why build a fleet in Berlin and leave it in Berlin?
Yes, it does seem
Move to the
pretty
Baltic. What?
ineffective. Here, of course, Denmark to Sweden would have been incredible, but like that's a bit hard to predict.
Yeah, that's fine, right? Just like I whatever. But just Berlin to Baltic needs to be automatic here. It's very depressing that it wasn't played,
Yeah,
but that's okay. Um,
Yes.
I think this was a great turn for Anton, right? Kind of everything happened perfectly
Yeah.
for him.
I think with
Getting into
the
Budapest, getting into Romania, getting the Baltic Sea, getting to Silesia, and there is no enemy unit bordering any of his. Oh, Sweden still has a border in the Skagerrak,
yes.
but like, there's nothing in Galicia, Prussia. It's just they're all empty. So this was amazing. It is +3 in the spring. So maybe gonna be the coveted +4 Russia, getting 4 builds.
It would be absolutely incredible, yeah. I think the move from Sweden to Baltic is a blunder. There's no way around that, but it turned out to not be that bad. Um, well, no, okay. Actually, Sweden to Baltic is fine because you're expecting Berlin to Baltic every time, right?
Yeah, so you're just
Um,
gonna bounce.
yes. the
So the next level, right? Yes, have Berlin hold to then have Denmark go to Sweden. I could see some truly next level maneuvers like that, but if you're having Denmark back to Kiel, you can't beat. Anyways, point is, I think this turn worked out so perfectly for Anton. It's almost like it was written that way.
Yes. And so I think this chapter actually begins everything was coming up Anton. So it is like absolutely perfect. This Russian line is beautiful. Getting into Budapest and Romania and like Silesia at the same time, it's all fantastic. Um, One kind of amusing thing that happens in the story right afterwards is Kristoff going to Olaf and Marie and basically saying, I think actually I'll quote it directly. I'd like to call a meeting of the Keep Austria Alive Club, which is, considering the author hasn't played diplomacy at all, I think that's on point as like I've heard that exact phrase in games before. This happens pretty often at the start with Austria being absolutely demolished and then having to go and say, hey, is there anyone here who would like to keep me alive? But yes, that Austria Alive Club meeting. Okay, actually, I'll get back to that once we've discussed the moves here. Is there anything else you want to talk about on this one?
We've discussed all of the holds in Turkey, um, making things pretty sad over there. But oh, and then the Helgoland bite holding just support London into North Sea, of course. Just strictly better, basically, like really strictly better. But other than that,
Yeah. Um,
a
okay.
minor thing is having the Ionian Sea take Tunis in the spring is usually suboptimal. Usually, you'd rather just like support hold Greece in the fall and then or in the spring and then take Tunis in the fall because as is, it's just going to hold in Tunis. But that's a more minor thing; doesn't really matter.
Yes. I mean, that's absolutely true, yeah. If you just keep Ionian and Ionian for a phase, it at least makes it look like you could be supporting Greece again in the following phase, so Turkey would be less incentivized to go for it. Um, and there's no real reason to move into Tunis immediately, because you can't take it immediately, right? And you can't do anything from there. But yeah, that seems to be the only real mistake here, I think. In the Italian. I mean, the Italian isn't doing all that much aside from pushing Kristoff back against Russia, which makes complete sense given that Russia is currently dominating, right? You do want
Yep.
to, like, prop them up against him. Uh,
And it does seem like there is a very strong Russia-Turkey alliance. So you want to,
yes.
as Italy, you kind of have to support Austria against that.
Yeah. The other option I've seen a few times is like if you immediately try and demolish Austria, like take them out completely, and then you make sure that you are the preferred ally of Russia and Turkey, or whichever Russia and Turkey is more likely to stick with you, right? Then
Yeah,
you can get
if you
away with it,
pry apart the Juggernaut, right, then killing Austria and then dismantling the Juggernaut works fine.
but it's super risky because I think in most cases it's going to be in both of those players' interests to just keep going for you. Um, Maybe
I
less so
agree.
with Russia sometimes. You can get away with an Italy Russia alliance
Yep,
fairly reasonably.
there's a name for it, which means it's probably happened a lot, and it's probably pretty good.
Yes. The name is Wintergreen, I think.
Indeed.
Yes. Okay, and yeah, we see Anna putting a fleet in Portugal, which means that the North Coast thing isn't that important after all.
Yep, it's all completely handled.
Yes, okay, so a few things that happen in the lead up to the following phase here. We shouldn't attack the snowman, was something that Tosia said. This was in discussion between Anton and Tosia, so the Russian and the Turk. Basically, this diplomacy game is happening in the backdrop of like negotiations between these two powers, Arundel and the one that Maria's from, right? So they basically say, hey, we shouldn't attack the snowman because it will look like we're kicking their puppy dog, and then they won't want to like negotiate with us further on the actual like negotiation front. So let's be nice to Olaf, right?
To any diplomat in the world, if you ever are playing diplomacy whilst handling your international negotiations, you are probably doing something very wrong.
Yes, I would certainly not
This
advise it.
this is not a game where you like are building friendships and trust falling and doing all of the good fun things. That's terrifying to me, and I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. It is fantastic. It does lead to some elements that you wouldn't see in a normal diplomacy game, like we shouldn't attack this person because it might damage our international relations. But yeah, they do find it fine to attack Kristoff. I suppose that's because Kristoff is less of the Arundel puppy dog, right? But
Yes. And it's totally fine to attack Elsa and Anna still.
yeah, I think the main thing is just Olaf is like happy go free all the time, right? And attacking him is taking advantage of someone who's probably quite easy to take advantage of.
Yeah, that makes sense. Probably.
Yeah. But in
I
that
mean,
case, why
whatever.
is he playing in the first place? You needed to find someone else, I think. But actually, his gameplay ends up being super interesting later on. But we'll get to that in a
I
bit.
mean, he's playing great so far. Like, he's doing a fantastic job.
Okay, so in this meeting of the Keep Austria Alive club that I mentioned earlier, so Marie is the person leading this discussion for the most part, or at least suggesting things. The Kristoff and Olaf are basically saying, hey, you know, is there anything you can do to help here? And she says, no, not really. Like, look at my position. I cannot come down and help Austria. But you have an ally who could probably demolish Russia right now. And, I mean, that's pretty true if you look at the board, right? There is certainly someone who could... devastate Russia in an area that they're not particularly well defended. Do you have an idea of who that would be?
I mean, so there are kind of two people, right? Because Turkey can still crush Russia, right? Turkey has an extra build they're not using. Like, they can get into the Black Sea, they can smack Romania. Like, by coordinating with Austria, Romania and Budapest are both going away pretty fast. Like, and then we talked about Sweden being vacated. So, like, England can do stuff. Not really England. England can't do anything. Nah, it's just Italy. Or, excuse me, it's just Turkey.
I mean, England
'Cause-
can do stuff, right? There's very little Russian presence up north. Admittedly, straight away, it doesn't really work. Actually,
Yeah, there's also no English presence up north either anymore.
they need to
Like, look,
maneuver
if-
out with their fleet, right? The helicopter.
If you tell me what Russia's doing as England, I can probably coordinate a way to really mess them up. And a really common way is probably via Denmark. Like, if I convoy Yorkshire into Denmark and then I capture Denmark, then I'll take Sweden next. And if I do this while building an army, could like convoy that army into Norway while taking Sweden, and then be all set to march on St. Petersburg and then start marching through. So that's how I would like think about attacking Russia. It's not a this year thing; it's a 2-year thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. it is in fact Elsa that she's talking about, and like it does make sense in that she would be trying to get Elsa off her own back, right? So if she gets Kristoff, who's generally quite good friends with Elsa outside of the game, to go over to her and say, hey, you know, look at Russia, I really need your help right now, can you please pivot? That could be effective.
That's true. That's a really effective way. You can't convince somebody, but somebody else might be able to convince that person and see if you can get them.
Yes, and it does actually end up working. Shall we go ahead to the fall move here?
Sure.
It's certainly not the move I would have made in Elsa's position, but it does work out.
Hey man, if it works, it works.
Yeah. So the double convoy over North and Skagerrak into Sweden. What are your thoughts on that?
This is absurd.
I mean, it is fantastic, right? It's also just...
Nobody did anything this turn. What units moved on the board this turn?
Well, there was the convoy in the north. That's like the big one,
yes.
Right? Yeah, there certainly wasn't much else of note. I think that may be for narrative reasons, because like a lot of the focus was on this convoy, the stab that happens on Russia from Elsa. But yeah, there's certainly not a lot of movement anywhere else.
That's also, I think, the literal only unit that changed its location this entire turn.
Yeah, that is true. In some cases, that's kind of reasonable, right? You have the German defending themselves basically as much as they can, and Anna is running into the problem of, I'm France and I've built no fleets, so I'm just going to get stuck on this Belgium line forever, which happens a lot and has happened in our competitive commentaries in the past as well.
Indeed.
But yeah, on the other side of the board we have, like, both... So, Russia and Turkey are playing very defensively here, and Austria is trying to push back, but of course has no ability to do so, and Italy is just propping up Austria, so there's no real movement there.
Yep.
I'd say Turkey should really be funneling a fleet out at this point, or building... Well, they can't... Oh, they do have a build. They have one in reserve. Or building a new fleet to go after Italy, but again, it's been explained they don't want to go after Italy, right?
Yeah, so you just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Yay!
So the big board changes in Sweden. If I was doing this attack, I would have convoyed over to Norway and gone into Sweden with the fleet, because then you're guaranteed some movement, even if Baltic comes up to Sweden. And... like, it's a better position anyway as a result, because you have 2 units in Scandinavia instead of just 1, right? But
yeah, that's reasonable. It's a tough call, because I really like having a unit in Skagerrak until I've taken Denmark.
Yeah.
So, again, my instinct would have been to go through this whole thing in a different order. But we haven't taken Denmark yet, so I'm okay to have a fleet still in Skag, and if I convoy into Norway and move my fleet, it doesn't happen. I think your way is, if Russia wasn't building, I would 100,000% agree. The problem is that Russia is gaining Romania and Budapest this turn, so even though they're losing Sweden, they're still going to build in St. Pete, so there's no real, like, zoom approach we can take.
Yeah. This is... I mean, yes, I agree. I wasn't really thinking of the build. But yeah, they do definitely get a build, and therefore it is... it's a bit difficult to attack them. I also wasn't immediately thinking about, hey, yeah, you're still at war with Germany, right? So you have to keep
this
that
whole attack, I think, is just mistimed by a year, right? If you take Denmark this turn instead, right, continue mashing up Marie, and then Russia's going to build probably something in Warsaw. Maybe they build something in Moscow, but probably something in Warsaw to start getting some of these German leftovers. And then you just go and take Sweden, convoy into Norway, and then they're just dead. And then wipe your hands. You win.
Yeah.
Fourth top, easy.
That does make sense. There's there's not a whole lot else to talk about on this board right now, right?
Yeah. I would argue nothing else to talk about. There's nothing else moved.
Okay. Let me just see. So there's a little bit of conversation that happens after these moves go through, like in the same chapter, but again before the winter. Anton suggests to Elsa that she go to Denmark with his support. She replies saying, "I didn't attack you looking for compromise. I just want you to stop attacking Kristoff and return Budapest to him, and then I'll back off you completely." Like, I really don't care about these things that are going on. Sorry, I really don't care about keeping Scandinavia. You can have Sweden back as soon as you vacate Budapest. Which is an interesting one. I would probably have just said, yeah, sure, and then taken Sweden back and maybe not. Because Budapest is super easy to get back, right? Once England gives up Sweden, you've got your foothold in the north again. I'm not sure what your opinion on that would have been.
Um, I've never seen anything remotely close to these negotiations happen in a real game of diplomacy. Um, I would probably accept that as Russia, but pretend that I'm at war with Elsa until I have Sweden back. And
Yeah.
how am I gonna give back Budapest? Yeah, I guess I would give back Budapest with quotation marks around giving back Budapest. In that I would move Silesia into Bohemia, Budapest into Galicia, and then Romania into Budapest. And that way, when Austria attacks Budapest with strength 2, they take Budapest. But yeah, then I just take it right back.
Yeah. That does make sense.
Whilst also giving myself a good position against Austria. Actually, take it back. I would do these moves the way that I described because that way I am actually vacating Budapest and I'm walking out of it. I can say that honestly. Whatever. Anyways,
yeah, I think
it's
so.
weird to say I'll give you back my center if you give somebody else on this side of the board back their center.
Yeah, that
Like,
is the super interesting part, right? Because usually we look at competitive diplomacy games, and in those, everyone is really playing for themselves or for someone they've connected with over the course of the game, right? In this case, there's clearly a connection between England and Austria, where they're very good friends outside of the game, and therefore England wants to negotiate in Austria's favour despite having nothing to do with them really on the board. So it's a super unusual situation. And one we
yeah,
don't really run into usually.
indeed.
Yeah. Is there anything else that happens here? Marie offers Elsa Denmark after this phase, basically saying, "Hey, you can have it. It's fine as long as we try and get me another center going forward, right?" And actually,
Sure.
Elsa immediately says, "Hey, so you want me to support you into Belgium? Like that seems weird." And she's like, "No, I think I'll take Warsaw," which is a tough one. It's
I mean, Elsa says, "Yeah, that sounds great. Thanks. I
yeah.
appreciate it."
I mean,
Okay.
it's an interesting. It's a bit of a non-essential negotiation anyway because like Marie is losing Denmark 100%, no matter
Yeah,
what.
probably. That would seem
So
likely, but it means there's other stuff you can do with units. I don't know. I think I chalk this up as an advantage to playing diplomacy whilst being queen.
right,
I
okay,
suspect people find it harder to say no and will go out of their way to offer you more things.
that is probably true. Yes. Well, yeah. I think that is everything that happens before the spring in the story. So, well, before the winter. Shall we move ahead to the builds?
Sure.
All right. And this build is not really explained in the story at all. The St. Petersburg South Coast fleet. I'm like that would be the kind of build that I'd say, yeah, that's just bad, right? Well, yeah. I guess it secures their southern line, but, like, it's so difficult to make that fleet do anything useful that Baltic isn't already doing. Um, or that an army couldn't do better.
Yeah, it does seem like an army in St. Pete probably would have been better. Like this is one that philosophically I just love building fleets in the north as Russia. It just makes me happy inside. Even though it's almost always terrible. So this one I look at and I say, oh, I could see myself building that fleet.
Yeah. Like, even though I tend to prefer North Coast fleets to South Coast fleets, I think this is a scenario where it's like the South Coast fleet is superior to the North Coast fleet because North Coast fleet is just going to get stuck there forever.
Yeah.
But it also feels to me like a scenario where you should be building an army, even if you like building fleets.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because that fleet is gonna. What I hope to happen is that the fleet moves into Bothnia, while the army in Sweden moves into Finland, and then it just keeps bouncing in St. Petersburg, and so that fleet can never do anything. It can never come home, and then there are just two fleets stuck in Bothnia and Baltic forever.
Yep, well, stuck until they are forced to disband. Yeah. Which will presumably happen at some point if you are stuck in that position.
Yeah, once they lose St. Petersburg and Moscow.
Yep. So, other interesting builds? Well,
I think the other builds are pretty normal, except for France.
Yes.
Oops.
You know, this is a build I would criticize, but, you know, I would love to criticize it as being unrealistic that a France would stick this many armies, but we've seen it so many times in competitive games, right?
You've seen it too many times. And this one, it really, like, if you assume when you're playing this game as France that you are 100% allied with England and 100% allied with Italy, right? You are not allowed to attack them because one of them is your fiance and the other one is your mother. Fine. You're going to build a lot of armies and you're going to try to get through Germany. Okay. You have to do that.
So this is not this situation, right? I'm going to say that Anna is not engaged to Elsa or is not the daughter of Elsa, right?
Yes. His sister is similar, right? Like,
yeah.
And the Queen, right? Like, you literally cannot attack England for personal reasons. And you also can literally not attack Italy for personal reasons. Okay,
right,
you got to attack Germany. That's all you can do. It's almost never strategically sound from the board, but hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, it is the outside factors coming in on that front, I guess. Also, like, it's not horrendous if you can get English assistance into the supply centres. The problem is, of course, England has not given any assistance whatsoever so far, which is why...
No, and we've just been sitting in the North Sea laughing at you.
Yep. Right, well, we got power rankings to do right now. Who would you put in first place here?
Elsa.
Is that because of board things, or is that because you think that no one is wanting to attack her?
All of the above. First of all, I just want to play England after these builds. This is a great England game. I'm feeling really good.
Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree.
Also, out of board things, clearly, right? We have Marie offering Denmark, trying to work together. We have Anna, who's never going to attack Elsa. And then the only potential rival is this Anton fellow, but you've gotten the jump on him. You're in Sweden now. You're going to get pressure on Ferenc and St. Pete. Like, I don't know. I think Elsa's doing great.
Yes.
Next, this is going to be the controversial one. I would put Anna next.
You're going to put Anna, who was just built...
I don't think Elsa's going to attack Anna.
I mean...
And if you're France in an EF, and they're not going to stab each other, then England is going to be the best, and then I hear France is the next best.
I can see that reasoning. I think it's really tough to put a France who's got one fleet in second place, but they are France, and
they're never gonna die. Like, Germany's gonna fall eventually, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. Um,
I think that makes
and
sense.
then third is really hard. Like just on the board, just doing power rankings, I would give it to Turkey. Also, if we were just looking at
Because
the board, Turkey would clearly be second over England. But right, Turkey's position is so nice right now. So I think Turkey has to be there.
righto. I mean, yeah, I think I would agree. Turkey, like their position isn't as solid as a lot of 5 center turkeys. Because usually a 5 center turkey has Greece instead of Serbia, right? Which is a
And
little more
usually a five
secure.
center Turkey has like two fleets in the south.
Yes. Those are the big things. But like also, Italy has not made any moves towards her, so maybe she has an advantage on that front negotiation wise.
Yeah,
And yeah, a 5 center turkey is just quite strong anyway, regardless of
and
where
there's
the
still
5 centers
potential,
are.
right? Russia's tied down to the north, right? Three of their units are north of Sevastopol, and so if Turkey ever chooses to attack Russia, then that's going to work quite well.
Yep. Do you have a fourth place pick?
Italy.
Yeah, that would have been my fourth place pick as well. Not actually being attacked by anyone right now. uh,
Yep.
Also, not really got much in the way of expansion, except for Trieste potentially, but they are backing the Austrians right now. So, yeah, it's a pretty good defensive position, especially with Turkey having no fleets in the south. It's not a good expansive position, but like it's good enough for fourth, right?
Yeah. And like I can dream about getting this convoy into Albania and hoping that Turkey forgets to attack Greece again. And once you're in Albania, if your army in Tyrolia can make some mosey on over, like maybe start actually pushing back. Maybe. But nah,
Yeah,
it's just I think Italy's very safe is the main reason. Like you're not gonna get broken anytime soon because Turkey's building armies and you're fine.
and France is building
Um
armies, so like no threats anywhere.
yeah, France is building
All right,
armies.
so fifth place. So I assume seventh place has to be Austria, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
Kristoff is certainly in seventh.
yes. So it's between Marie and Anton for fifth.
Yeah, I think Anton. I think fifth goes to Russia, and then sixth goes to Germany.
Okay. Any thoughts on why that is?
Well, you've got a France that's only building armies.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is totally fair. The Germany here is facing an unbreakable England-France alliance, which is never a position you want to be in as Germany.
Yeah,
So,
your only hope, right, is if you can get into a Western Triple from early on, where France builds only fleets, England builds a ton of armies, and then you work together with them from a very early start, and then you stab one of them before things are okay. But this is not that. This is, in fact, the exact opposite.
yes. And she actually did try and pitch that on the very first turn, right? But it didn't.
Indeed,
Yeah, it didn't work out for her. Um,
unfortunate.
so first place on the power rankings, Elsa. Second, Anna. Third, Tosia. Fourth is Olaf the Snowman. Fifth, Anton. Sixth, Marie. And seventh is Kristoff. Let's move ahead to the spring. Okay, anything you want to talk about here?
Um, um,
There's a lot of unusual stuff happening on this board.
yeah, sorry. There is a lot going on here. Like I don't know. Let's start talking about France again, because that seems like a good place to start talking about. I built a
Alright.
bunch of armies. Oh, I can't do anything. Next.
Yep. This is why you don't build all armies. And again, like, England could have very easily helped them into Belgium um, with North Sea. They didn't even need it for Denmark because they were being offered Denmark regardless. Uh, but they don't do so. They have no incentive to break the stalemate at all, right?
So,
They're just
okay, I
gonna
have a
keep
question
growing.
about things. Do you know when in the timeline this happens? Because I thought that I thought that Anna and Hans were like falling for each other at the dance and stuff.
No, so this happens after the events of the first Frozen. Like, Hans's slash Marie has well, their whole kingdom kind of like went through a forgiveness arc. I think I didn't read that section of the fan fiction. It wasn't in the diplomacy one, so I don't know what exactly happened there.
Okay, because
But
if these people presumably hate each other.
Marie is redeemed to some extent, but not necessarily trusted by everyone, right?
Okay, that makes some sense.
Yeah.
All right. With that context, if you put me in France, I'm probably going to attack that Germany a lot. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great.
But
So we've got that out of the way. Um, so in let's now look at Italy. Um, just saying, hey, I hope you want Venice. Sure. Okay.
yeah. This is certainly an interesting one over there. I mean,
Yeah.
Italy just outright helps Austria into Trieste and Venice, right? It's a here have these to survive thing rather than a I'm getting backstabbed thing in this context.
Yep.
Um, it is something I've seen people do. I would not do it in this position because, well, okay, Italy is probably strong enough to get away with it defensively, but you had such a strong line before, and suddenly with Venice gone, that's a less strong line. Defensively.
All of these lines are just slightly like it's fine. It's not. These people are all new to diplomacy, right? This is theoretically Elsa's first game, Anna's first game, Olaf's first game, Kristoff's first game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So like they're having a good time, and they're doing really well.
Yep.
Like they're crushing.
This is true. So there is some discussion that happens with this in like after these moves, which is actually like I found it kind of amusing anyway. On the Olaf slash Kristoff front, uh, this is with regard to the Greece support Serbia to Albania. So note in this circumstance, Olaf is like pulling Kristoff back into his own supply centers to make sure that Kristoff doesn't die, but at the same time he's helping Turkey reposition it into a position where Turkey can attack those supply centers, right? So the discussion goes, Kristoff goes and says, what's going on with you and Tosia? Olaf shrugged. She's my new friend. Kristoff crossed his arms. And why are you supporting her? Because she asked me to. I want to support all my friends. Which is a very Olaf approach, I think. It like fits his character to the letter, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
then
it also doesn't really do anything, right? It's not like Kristoff was gonna mess with it, but whatever. Sure.
yeah, and then so Kristoff goes, but Olaf, I'm your friend, and I'm at war with Tosia. She's allied with Anton, who's attacking me. So why are you helping her? And Olaf is going like, yeah, through all those points. I hear what you're saying, but that sounds like a you problem. I'm just gonna keep helping everyone. So
I love that phrase. That sounds like a you problem. That's one of my favorite things.
it was such a good line. I like felt like I had to put it in directly into my notes. But yeah, it's one of the twists that comes from this not being a competitive diplomacy game. This is a diplomacy game with characters who all have specific personalities that we know from the movies, and this fits Olaf to a T. I want to be friends with everyone and do everything for everyone. But at the same time, if I was playing diplomacy with someone like that, I would be incredibly infuriated. Right?
Really happy to be the friends with this person who asks this friend to support me into Albania. Yep,
Yeah.
that's what I would do.
Uh, but yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about on this board? Because there's obviously that. Olaf's doing
Uh,
interesting things there.
yeah, so we see Anton in Russia pulling more units north. Um, the Silesia into Prussia doesn't make much sense to me, but oh well, I think it's fine. And then Romania moving up to Ukraine as a way of saying, oh no, everything is getting tough. Um, I need more units up north, and I think that's fine. I can't wait for the day that Turkey stabs Russia.
Yeah, it would certainly do a lot of damage at this point.
Indeed.
Yeah. Um, so I don't think the so yes the moves up north are explained as being that he's regrouping to defend St. Petersburg, which I think makes complete sense. In that circumstance, I would probably go. Well, I don't know what I'd do with Silesia. Like I want to say, in hindsight, it would have been better to move it to Warsaw because it got followed up by Munich, or just not move it at all, which would have been better. But do you predict that? Probably not. You don't think that Germany is just going to suddenly pivot into you, right? It doesn't seem to make sense from the German position to do that. So I think this is fine. Moving up to Prussia, maybe you can get a cool convoy in with Baltic somewhere, but that's kind of tough. Uh,
Yeah, if I'm trying to pull back to Livonia, I would probably just go via Warsaw to be a little more friendly, a little just more clear about your intentions to say, hey, I'm defending.
yeah, that makes sense. Okay, there's a couple more things that happen after this phase. So Kristoff asks Olaf after that discussion that I mentioned if he's got anything more planned with Tosia, and Olaf says that he has, but he refuses to say what it is because he's been asked to keep it secret. And then Kristoff Kristoff then asks
Yep.
for Adriatic supports Trieste hold, and Olaf says, "Oh, I can't do that, but I can do Tyrolia support Trieste hold." And like
Oh
that,
my god, Olaf is going to support someone into Trieste and then support that thing to hold. I'm so excited.
that's exactly as I think. But yeah, it's like suddenly as Kristoff in that situation, I'd be thinking, okay, what can Adriatic do that is going to like help Turkey against me? Because he's just said that. I would be worried about a convoy to Apulia, I think, but
Oh, that
like,
would be fun too.
but also supporting to Trieste is absolutely a possibility. Okay, other things that happen here. Oh yeah, so another quote from Olaf. You know, it's kind of hard being friends with everyone, but I guess that's what makes the game fun. So proper Care Bear attitude there.
I see.
And Marie, that is Germany here, goes to Anton and says, and basically tries to say, hey, you know, I said some things in 1801 because this is set earlier than the actual board game that were a bit rash, unsporting, and Anton is like saying, yeah, ungrateful, would you say? And Marie says, yeah, most ungrateful. I want to pay you the respect you deserve as a mentor and elder brother, and basically like flatters him a bunch to try and get him to broker a truce, which is interesting in this situation. As Germany, I don't think you need to convince Russia to like truce. You can probably just say, hey, I would like a truce, and Russia would do it, given the English situation. But
Given that England is attacking both Germany and Russia, yes.
yeah, I guess with Russia and Prussia and Baltic, maybe it makes a bit more sense on that front. But Anton actually refuses this. He says, like, I know what you're trying to do. I saw you talking with Elsa before. You're trying to distract my defenses from St. Petersburg with this truce. And so I'm just going to focus fully on defending that instead. So yeah, the negotiations break down on that front. So Germany, Russia's still not very happy with one another. Going into fall 1900. Wait, no, that's spring. Going into winter 1900. Wait, no, this is fall. Sorry, going into fall 1903. I have written the wrong date on my notes. Okay, shall we move ahead?
To the fall?
Yes.
Let's see it.
Full 1803 even.
Or
And
it's 1803.
yeah, so this whole story, because the events of Frozen are like quite a long way in the past. This is set like in this universe, diplomacy starts in 1801 instead of 1901. And it's also on a fictional map because obviously Europe doesn't exist in this reality. But yeah, if you want to read more about that, you can read the fan fiction. That doesn't really come into the game itself.
Sure.
So, thoughts on this phase? You will notice that you were 100% correct about what happens in the south.
Perfection.
It is incredible.
And then Budapest just walks into Vienna. That's fine. We need Anton to have some more builds. And then in the south, Turkey and isn't doing anything.
I mean, so
yeah,
Turkey does try and take Trieste. They did do something, but they are kind of hyper-focused on one specific thing and not looking anywhere else, I think.
yeah, why would you ever take Greece or take anything from Russia? That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh no, Olaf is losing the unit.
He does. Very unfortunate. Here, like, Turkey had a really nice stab on Russia, like, with the Budapest moving out as well, nothing covering Romania, and Black Sea and Armenia open. They could have gone into
I mean, it's still a fantastic stab this turn. You can wait.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, this is the south. Nothing really happens except for Vienna getting transferred across to Russia now because, I mean, Kristoff didn't really have the units to defend it anyway. At the same time as defending Trieste, especially with Olaf supporting things both ways.
It's exceptional.
It is. The north has a lot more movement this phase.
Yes.
Yeah. And perhaps a key thing here is Germany is supporting England in their endeavors against the Russian. So they have, like, Marie and Elsa are solidly working together now. And Marie manages to snipe Warsaw as Russia goes up north to defend his St. Petersburg. So actually doesn't go down a unit from this trade.
Yeah, this worked out nicely. Obviously Russia should have defended Warsaw.
Yes, but I think this is
Moscow is crazy.
This is part of the the negotiations that happened on the last turn. Russia thought that the German approach to them had been to try and convince them to not defend the north. Which I think you probably should cover Warsaw anyway in this circumstance, especially since the English units aren't getting into position to take St. Petersburg for a little while yet. But yeah, I guess he wanted to be set up as quickly as possible, and he pays the price for it, like quite a heavy price in this case.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't lose a unit because he got Vienna, so. But it is worth considering that his entire southern front, like Vienna, Budapest, Romania, and Sevastopol, are now covered by Army Vienna and Fleet Sevastopol, and that is it. So Turkey has a very easy attack now, if they want to take it. Oh, there is another change that happened on the board. France got into Belgium.
Indeed.
Oh, that is... Well, okay, so that means that Anna's position has changed for the first time in forever. Right? I guess they were taking Spain and Portugal previously, but... yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I mean, here we just see England is going to get stalemated against Russia, so this is where England should presumably switch and go and attack Germany. But, oh well.
Yeah, this is the problem with St. Petersburg, right? You have to if they are prepared to defend it, especially if they have a second fleet or a fleet in the north, like in Bothnia here, it takes forever to grind it out. And even once you've ground it out, you can't really get any further than that. So it's usually worth leaving St. Petersburg if they if they're already set up to defend it. But hey, if neither Germany nor France are attacking them, then they don't really have that much to lose by not going for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about on here?
Not really. I think we can head on to builds.
Alright, I think... Okay, so... Yeah, let's go ahead straight to builds. Winter 1903 here. So we do see Olaf taking off his army in Tuscany. And then there's an army build for Anna and a fleet build for Elsa. I wondered for a second, hang on, why are there two builds and only one disband? But that was because Belgium had remained neutral until this turn, right?
Yes, Belgium had not yet been captured.
Any comments on these builds?
I mean, it's another French army. I'm sure this army will be more useful than the one in Marseille.
Yep. There's just army coming out of France. Or, well, not really coming out of France. Staying in France is the is probably the better term for that. But yeah, they have managed to at least break through into Belgium now, so they have some kind of route out, even though it's still really difficult to push any further if Germany doesn't want you to go any further. But yeah, okay, so in advance of the spring phase, there's only one real note that I've written down, which is that Anton, the Russian player, requests that Tosia's fleet get into position to support hold Sevastopol because he's panicked about having lost Warsaw and thinks that he may soon crumble in the north. Which, I don't know about you, if I was Turkey and I heard, hey, could you get into position with your fleet to support hold Sevastopol, I would be over the moon.
I would love to hear that. I would, of course, never support hold Russia, but hey, I'll get in position to.
Yes. I mean, I might throw over one or two support holds while they're not really needed, right? If you've been invited into Black Sea or Armenia, then you're just, yeah, sure, I'll stay here and... This is my reason for staying here, is just throwing supports at you. But yeah, it's absolutely thrilled as Turkey to hear that.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Shall we go ahead to spring 1904?
Sounds perfect.
Alright. Right. Anything you want to talk about in particular here? Oh, wait. Did I have the wrong phase here? Oh, I did have the wrong phase. Oh no, okay. That thing I talked about Armenia is actually next year, never mind. About supporting hold Sevastopol. Forget I ever said that.
Okay.
But yeah, so anything you want to talk about in this position?
In spring of 04, I noticed the Finland disbands. I suppose Elsa has decided to become friendly with Anton now.
Yeah, so I don't really... Hang on. I know this was discussed in the story. I don't think I wrote down what the reason for the Finland disband was, but it is certainly not a good thing. I think she wanted more fleets or something and wanted to take the army off so she could put more fleets on the board, but I don't think she actually is friendly with Anton at the moment. She's still wanting to take St. Petersburg, in which case this is a horrendous disband, right? You really need that army. Yeah, and although Army Sweden isn't helping you that much, it's still better than no army.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a thing. I like to keep my armies on the board.
Yeah. I suppose this also is a difference between, like, a long game and a short game. And if you're viewing as I need to get to 18 at some point, then armies are incredibly useful. If you're viewing as I want to be the strongest power after X years, then an all-fleet England is fine, right?
That's true. Also, like, I mean, what else is your fleet gonna? I don't know. This is so weird because like your fleets clearly are useful to help you attack Germany, but you're not attacking Germany right now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's an odd one. Yes, that would have been better retreated to Sweden. That's definitely true. Is there anything? Well, what do you want to talk about next on the board? Because there's a fair few other things that happened, right?
I do want to talk about France.
Yep.
Great. We've talked about France. Now we can talk about Italy and Austria. Where
Poor
they're
France.
pushing back.
I mean, so the sad thing about France is not only do they not make any progress, they also fail to stop the German making progress at the same time. Which is just painful. But yes, anyway, as you were saying, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. So in the south, it's a lot of fun because you've got Olaf, who is still working with both Turkey and Austria, which is perfect. You love to see it.
Yep.
And Turkey is still declining to take Greece, but I mean, I don't know. I just think the south is really fun, and I love to see one unit in Vienna just handling everything. And then Sevastopol holding Romania, and then Turkey is just sitting around with 2 units not really doing much. I'm really excited about it.
Yep.
I just want to play as this Turkey and then just start killing everyone immediately. It seems like a lot of fun, but oh well.
I mean, you're certainly in position to do so. This is a really, really strong Turkish position if they took advantage of it.
It has gotten a lot worse though, right? Like with the Italian fleet in Ionian, things are now getting scary.
Yes, you need to make a gain. Well, you're making a gain in Trieste, but even if you do put down fleets now, you're not as you can't get them out as easily as you could before, which is the main problem there. But yeah, I mean the Turkish position is still strong, but yes, you're right. It's worse than it was previously. So I guess the other move that happens here, the infamous defend yourself by attacking in Warsaw/Livonia. So Anton attempts to retake Warsaw, and Elsa and Marie successfully predict what they're going to do and go in the other direction with an attack, which is a very solid way of defending your supply center when you don't have an adjacent unit to support hold it. But it does require a correct guess, which they got. In this case, well, yeah, so you could guess the other way and have Baltic tap Livonia. That would prevent it if Moscow was the attacker. So it was a 50-50 between those two options, and they got the correct one. So yes, there's a whole bunch of notes I have for this phase. Oh yes, so one thing is Anna going and like at the board at the game table saying Anna gestured at the east with her empty sherry glass. Whenever I look at your guys' side of the board, I have absolutely no idea what is going on. It looks like circus time Clowntopia, capital of the clown world. Which, yeah, I mean that is pretty accurate.
Just imagining Anna say that.
Yeah. But yeah, so they. I mean, honestly, that's a pretty good assessment for the East in diplomacy in general, quite often. But certainly in this case. Other things that happen this phase, Elsa and Marie discuss the difficulties of taking St. Petersburg, and Marie tells Elsa to take Belgium in order to get the extra units necessary to take St. Petersburg, which I think is a bit dubious. Although if Elsa, I mean, given this is Elsa's first game, she could probably be convinced into it. But like, you do not need more units to take St. Petersburg. You need better positioned units to take St. Petersburg at this point, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, one of those better positioned units could have been your army if you had retreated instead of taking it off the board. So another thing, Olaf goes to Anna and says, Olaf and Anna have a conversation, and Olaf is clearly, like, quite unsure about what he's supposed to be doing here. He says, my friends all want me to support them in their secret plans to attack each other, and I really want to help them all, but I think there's a better way to help them if I did something different and kept them all safe instead. But I can't tell anyone because that'll give away their secrets. So Anna just goes, yeah, go ahead, do it. And then that leads up into what happens in the fall phase. Which, shall we move ahead to that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright. And yeah, so everyone is expecting Olaf's support moves, and instead Olaf just supports hold everyone instead. Which is like... I mean, I guess if you have someone who is hoping to be friends with everyone and they're actually, like, in a reasonably strong position, they can definitely grind out the game to, like, a complete halt, which is exactly what happens here in the East, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, Turkey is getting a build, so Turkey could still make a break for it in some places. I feel like the move up to Albania is not very good. Well, I don't really know what the move up to Albania is supposed to achieve from Olaf's perspective, but it's...
Is Olaf trying to achieve anything?
Yeah, that's the difficulty, right? Olaf is trying to stay friends with everyone, so maybe he's moving up to Albania to try and throw more supports onto people. It is amusing. He did actually support a successful attack on the last phase into Vienna, so apparently the only person he doesn't like is Anton. But he is trying to stay friends with everyone else. So yeah, the South is grinding to a complete halt because of this. And yeah, that's a pretty reasonable assessment of what would happen. But more stuff happens in the North. Do you want to cover that?
I mean, like, taking Belgium isn't very nice. But that already wasn't doing anything. And I was never going to do anything. So is it that big of a deal?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that much of a deal, but it also is a really... I don't know. Okay, so it might be a decent move if you're looking to commit to an alliance with Germany, like, for the rest of the game, right? And you're trying to launch your attack on England, but even then, I would have preferred to just go into English Channel here and get the jump on France properly. In this case, Elsa is not actually trying to attack France, right? She's just trying to grab the center.
Yeah, exactly, right? You don't want to actually go to war with Anna, you just want that dot.
Yeah, which is questionable why she needs the dot. But, I guess at some point you run out of places to grow. It is as good of a center to get as any. And you are absolutely right that it doesn't really hamper France, because France wasn't getting anywhere anyway.
Exactly, so it's not that big of a deal.
Yes. The problem is, it is quite a big diplomatic deal, but we'll get to that in a sec. Let's finish talking about other stuff on this first. So we do have the typical thing of, I have been guilty of this in the past when I was starting out, not realizing that Norway is adjacent to Barents Sea, and going Norwegian to Barents and Norway to Norwegian instead of just, like, moving Norway into Barents would be the more direct approach.
Or Norwegian to Barents with support.
Yes, exactly. And apart from that...
That would have explained a lot of how this... There have been a lot of subtle tactic mistakes that have happened right here, and that could totally just explain all of them. missing that Norway to Varennes connection. Oh, I love it.
Actually, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. I hadn't really considered the implications throughout of what was happening, but I think the certainly what they were talking about with St. Petersburg being so difficult to take makes a lot more sense if you don't know that Norway is connected to Barents Sea. So it's difficult to get, like, there. It's possible they didn't know Norway was connected to St. Petersburg either. But I feel like, yeah, it's hard to speculate on a lot of that. Is there anything else you want to cover here?
Not really. I'm feeling good about this space. Like we'll see if Anna decides to get pissy at Elsa for taking her center.
Okay, well, I mean, I can answer that question immediately because I have some notes here. Phase
Oh,
results.
perfect.
Right. So Anna's immediate reaction to that is, I'm in Belgium, Elsa. That's me you're attacking. I'm your ally. And Elsa's response is, like, is just fantastic. We're allies, so I'm not really attacking you. Anna, you just destroyed my army. Elsa, but Anna, your armies are useless. I'm just borrowing the supply center for a year so I can build another fleet. Your border with Germany is still secure. And then there was a whole bunch more arguing after that. But I just kind of loved the implication that, like, we're allies, so it's not really an attack, even though I didn't tell you about this at all.
I'm gonna use that excuse.
I mean,
But also, I love Elsa's argument here that your armies aren't doing shit.
it is. It's 100% correct, right? It's like that would be more useful as an English fleet because it's not doing anything at all right now. Of course, it could be more useful if you had just supported it to Holland, for example, the Belgium to Holland or something, but, like, I guess Elsa didn't really care to allow Anna to get any expansion.
Yeah. Oh well. And so now we get to see some builds, right?
Yeah, okay, and we do power rankings on this one.
Yep.
So, here we go. Livonia off the board. Army Constantinople. Yeah, I don't think that's going to help break the stalemate here. But she has explained that she doesn't want to attack Olaf. And Elsa gets two builds. Army Edinburgh and Fleet London. Thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, power rankings, I would keep them the same, basically. Entirely?
Is Anna still above Tosia here?
Like, this is the thing where if you give me, I would rather play as Turkey right now than France, but I think France is going to end this game in a better than this Turkey is.
Because Turkey isn't being played by you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So isn't making the stab that you would make here, I guess.
Yeah, and also isn't attacking Italy, right? It's that Turkey has determined that Turkey cannot attack Russia or Italy, and therefore is not going to do anything. And okay, but
yeah.
tough to win the game with that restrictions.
That is fair. So the complete rankings previously were Elsa first, Anna second, Tosia third, which I think, yeah, we've locked those three in as top three. In that order at the moment. Olaf in fourth. I think that's probably still true. Like, okay, well, below that, it's Anton in fifth and then Marie in sixth, which I think is just wrong now, right? Because Marie has a pretty decent position, actually. Like, well, more decent than it used to be, especially with Livonia coming off the board.
More decent than it used to be, right? Marie having taken Warsaw is a huge boon. The fundamental nature of Anna is only on armies and has to attack only Germany with those armies remains true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so until that changes, how is Marie ever gonna have a good position?
I mean, so she has Warsaw right now, right? Which means that
Yes.
she cannot lose Warsaw anytime soon because Livonia just got taken off. So there aren't the units to knock her out of it. And she has a pretty solid line against Anna, especially with the English buffer unit in Belgium now. So I rate her chances as being better than Anton's, at least from my perspective. But
That's reasonable. Russia's position is not exactly good.
yeah, I wonder what your
Okay,
thoughts
yeah, I
are
think
on
that's fair.
her versus Olaf though. Like one further up, is she
Oh,
is she ahead there or not?
no.
Or is actually yeah, that's definitely fair because Olaf is his position isn't horrendous. Um,
Olaf's position is invincible. He's gonna support Venice into Trieste and everything's gonna be fine.
right, so alright, so there's our power rankings for 1804. We've got Elsa in England in first, Anna in second, Tosia down there in Turkey in third, Olaf fourth, and then the change is Marie overtakes Anton, and Kristoff still in last, despite having changed his centre from Trieste to Vienna now. Right, so I did have some spring notes. Hang on. No, I have one spring note, and it's the one I mistakenly said earlier about Anton invites Tosia into Armenia to defend him this turn. It's not Black Sea after all. It's so if we move ahead to the spring now, there you will see Turkey moving units. The fleet goes to Armenia to give the agreed support if Anton ever comes under threat at that stage. So yeah, any comments on this board?
Nothing is ever gonna happen.
this
Oh
is
no.
this is a painful amount of holds. I do have to say that.
And also just like so the bounce right between Sweden and Barents, right? You have to take Bothnia first before you go into Finland,
Yes.
right? And Barents can't help and like oh my god, it should be tapping St. Pete, like some oh my lord, this is because Norway can't help you into Finland. This is oh no
Yeah.
no.
It's like the progress on St. Petersburg. Basically, St. Petersburg is the fulcrum of the board right now, right? There's nothing else that's really well. Okay, no, there are two areas that are changing, but St. Petersburg is like the focus of the board, even in that that's where Elsa is dedicating everything towards, and yet she's not really making any progress because she's doing it in the wrong way. So yeah, I agree completely. Finland is, well, Bothnia is the first target, then Finland would be the next target, and then St. Petersburg is the target after that. You do have to get units into position completely around it in order to take it. Except of course that you do have Warsaw there, which is your allies' unit, to tap Moscow. So maybe they are able to take it from this position.
Yeah. We also see that Anna does take back Belgium.
Yes. And actually, this is mentioned just after the phase goes through. That was arranged between the two of them because Anna got mad about Belgium being taken previously. Elsa basically says, okay, you can blow up my fleet there. Yeah, so it goes back to how it was before.
Yep. Which isn't exactly making any progress.
Yes, but there is one other move that happens here, and that is
Portugal
Portugal.
to mid-Atlantic Ocean.
Yes. Which is a big one, right? It's one step closer
Maybe.
to everywhere.
Yeah.
This is the fun thing about
It,
moving out of Portugal. You are actually one step closer to anywhere on the board that's not Portugal. But yeah,
yes.
sorry, go ahead.
No, it's great. Um, I think if you move from Portugal to north coast of Spain,
Oh, yes, that is true.
you might not actually be getting anywhere.
Darn, my fact has been disproven.
Which is why you never moved to the north coast of Spain.
Yep, this is true. Alright, well, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to talk about on this phase. There is quite a lot. No, there isn't. This is fall 1905. Okay, there's a little bit that happens in the chat in fall 1905, but I think this is one of the chapters where, like, most of the action that's happening is unrelated to the board, so there's not a huge amount of notes I got. But the important thing here is, going into fall 1905, Anton says to Kristoff, hey, you can have Budapest back if you move against Germany here. Which I think is a pretty decent, like, offer to make. It's kind of difficult for Kristoff to move against Germany, but, like, you're clutching at straws anyway in this Russian position, right? So it's something.
Yep.
Would you make that deal or take that deal?
I would offer any deal to get Germany out of Warsaw, and then probably renege on all of them to retake Warsaw.
Yeah, I think that's definitely fair. But the weird thing about that deal is, if we go into the fall of 1905 here, so Kristoff does actually accept it, and Anton goes, actually, nah, I won't go for that. So I'm not 100% sure what the reason for it is, like, happening, but this is one of those things where if you make a deal like that and then immediately don't go with it, that's just hurting your credibility for no reason whatsoever. So don't do that in an actual game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, so anything you want to talk about in this fall phase?
In the
Fall of
fall of
1805. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I love looking at France. The only unit that's moving is the fleet. It makes everyone happy. All
Yes.
is as it should be. England finally takes the Gulf of Bothnia. What does Norway is supporting the convoy into St. Petersburg. That's what's happening.
Yes. And so,
Yeah.
an important note here that's revealed after phase results, England was counting on Warsaw moving to Moscow to cut the support, and that did not happen.
Oh no, Hans can't be trusted. Surprise Pikachu face.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
But also, like, Kiel to Denmark is a thing that happens that also was unexpected, and Mid-Atlantic Ocean to English Channel was unexpected. So, like, these three things are revealed in order in after the phase result goes through, and, like, it's just Elsa getting more and more, like, angry / surprised at all these things happening against her. But yeah, so as a result, she does not take St. Petersburg. She loses Denmark, and she now has a French fleet in the English Channel. Suddenly a bit of a worse position, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's sad. It's very sad. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, it's like, so this is the problem of, like, hyper-focusing on a certain zone, which is, like, this... So this England game really puts me in mind of, we did a commentary a little while back on, like, the fourth game in the AI Gunboat series, where I was playing a really stupid England game, right, where I didn't really want to attack France or Germany because they were at each other's throats anyway, and they weren't making any progress. So I just went all out for Russia and all out for Iberia because that was controlled by Italy, and then myself and the bot who was playing Italy were just bouncing in Portugal every single phase and never getting anywhere. I don't know if you remember that commentary or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it was a memorable one, but that was pretty much exactly the same thing as what's happening here. In that I was never making any progress because I was hyper focused on one specific zone, right? And in this case, it's Saint Petersburg instead of Portugal. But in this case, unlike me, thankfully, they have been punished for it.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes,
This is very
indeed.
sad. When you have a good position as England, secure Scandinavia, and then win the game. I don't know. Just I don't know, man. This is yikes.
I mean, yeah, there's a few major errors that led up to this. First, getting talked into taking Belgium in the first place, which angered France enough that they broke the pact, right? But
Yeah,
also
and
just,
then not killing France, right? It's okay to stab. Just normally kill them.
yes, if you are stabbing, commit. That's an important thing. Don't flip flop. Uh,
But like, okay, also you could totally have just negotiated, right? In that situation, because the armies were so useless.
yes, this was the weird
Ugh.
thing because, like,
Yeah.
as you said, like the argument made sense. It makes more sense for me to have a unit that can do something than for you to have a unit that's just stuck there. But she didn't consult with Anna beforehand. She just did it and then said, "Hey, this made sense." No, you
Relationship advice from Diplostrats.
there you go. Yep.
We don't normally give good relationship advice on this channel, but in this specific context, maybe.
I will give a disclaimer here and say, please do not take anything we say as good relationship advice. Even in this
This
context.
one though.
But yes, communication is indeed important. Who would have known? Oh boy.
Okay. And then in the south, nothing happens except Greece and Tuagia, which doesn't really do anything.
Yep. And you see that Olaf once again supports both sides here to make sure that nothing happens, and he still gets the social credits for being friends with everyone. uh, okay, let me just see if I've got any notes here. Oh yes. So wait, is that it? Okay, yeah. All the notes I've got are about that. The move into the channel being unexpected, the move to Denmark being unexpected, and whatnot. So let's go ahead to the winter. So winter 1805, we see Army Kiel, Fleet Brest, and Fleet Barents off the board. Thoughts?
Well, Fleet Brest is scary for Elsa, of course.
Yes, definitely.
At
Although
least it's only Army Kiel, not another fleet.
this is true. I mean, I think that's definitely a reasonable build given the amount of French armies on the border, right?
Yeah, but I mean, counterpoint Denmark is cooked, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
suppose Denmark was probably cooked either way.
Is Denmark like? Well, there's Baltic is German. It's a bit difficult to see in
Wait,
the.
Baltic is German?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It
Oh,
came out of Berlin on like two turns ago.
yeah, it just looks really blue.
Yeah, it is. I think the
Oh,
sea
look,
territories are a little bit difficult to tell what's there sometimes, but
got
with
it.
this color scheme. But yeah, that is a German unit, so it's not in trouble.
Oh, never mind. Then Denmark is fine.
Yeah,
Ish.
that's still a
Hmm.
lot of English fleets above it, but
Yes, but now it's oh man, this English position gets tough to play.
really tough because not only that, but also Russia kind of abandoned all of their inner centers to keep two fleets on the board. Or two northern fleets on the board. So you've
Yeah.
got that ramming up against Sweden very soon as well. Uh, it's really tough. See, good thing for Elsa that this is not a power ranking year, or I think her power ranking would have dropped quite a lot right now, right?
Yeah, but is Anna gonna keep attacking Germany?
That's a good question. I mean,
She didn't support. Wait a second, I missed this. I'm sorry. If you go back to the spring of last year,
oh, hang on, have I got this?
you'll
Yeah,
see
okay.
that Burgundy and Munich just self-bounced in Ruhr.
Yes. Oh, I think this
Oh, I
was
want.
mentioned in the story, but I didn't stick it in my notes. Yeah, they agreed to do that. Um,
Oh no! Oh man, you have these four armies and they're not doing anything.
that
Ah, very sad.
is. I mean, they can do something now, right? You've got Wales is open, so you can convoy into that.
Yeah, but you don't stab Elsa. That's mean.
Really? I mean, she moved up into English Channel, right? Um,
Yeah, but that's just because you're just supposed to be in the English Channel. That's not a stab.
I
It's just like, what else are you doing with your fleet, man?
mean, Elsa came from Belgium, so it's Elsa's fault in the first place, right? This is
Yeah, and then you can help support Belgium, and that's not stabbing.
hmm. All
I think
right.
this is the perfect time to actually attack Germany because you can finally get into Ruhr, and Germany's not expecting it.
Can you get into there's an army in Kiel?
Yeah, but Germany's not expecting it.
Yeah, okay. So if Germany doesn't cover, then yes, it's
Right?
perfect.
You just self-bounced in Ruhr last turn, agree to the same thing, and then support yourself into Ruhr. Boom, problem solved.
Yes. Or agree to the same thing and then walk into Munich.
It works
Except,
perfectly if you
yeah.
can get Germany to support you into the North Sea. Because then Germany supports you in the North Sea. You coordinate with Elsa to hold in the North Sea. Then Elsa retreats from the North Sea into the Helgoland Bight while you take the North Sea. And then you take Holland, Kiel, and Denmark in the same turn.
Oh boy.
Boom.
That is a really cool order set, but as England, I would not like it very much.
Yeah, but as England, the alternative is I convoy into Wales. Take
Yes.
your pick.
Okay, yeah, that is very fair. Suddenly,
Keep.
France looks very, very good on a board like that.
Oh, yeah.
That is
Turns
actually
out building a
insane.
second fleet, right? All of this is possible because we have two fleets now, right? It's absurd how big of a deal this one extra unit is. I love it.
Yes. Well, shall we move ahead to the spring, see what happens?
Yeah.
Okay. So, spring
Man,
1806.
sad.
This is the sound of a very sad Ezio, whose plans have
It
just,
was so cool.
your dreams have now been crushed, I see. Well, even
Yeah,
sadder,
at
she didn't
least
even
Turkey's
convoy to
dead.
Wales.
Yeah. They
Oh, yes.
supported ugh. I mean, not taking her, this is man. Fine. I'll settle for Turkey stabbing Russia.
Uh, I mean, yes, Turkey does stab Russia on this phase. And actually, it's revealed straight afterwards that this is not just Turkey. This is Turkey. So Tosia, Olaf, and Kristoff are all now in a triple alliance. They finally work things out.
Okay,
Um,
we have weird definitions of triple alliance
yeah,
with Olaf taking a center from Vizier and Kristoff retaking home centers that have been captured. But sure.
yeah. I mean, Olaf certainly does very well out of this triple alliance.
Oh yeah, Olaf is loving this nice coordination.
Yep. Uh, but this is indeed a triple alliance. They call themselves Team Sandwich, and they are fighting with the power of friendship. This is direct quotes from Olaf here. Um, and of course, Olaf is doing very, very well out of it, taking Smyrna and Venice. Thankfully for Tosia, she still stays on a fair number of censors. In fact, she stays even, I think, because she takes a bunch
Yeah,
off of
but
Anton.
it's the best way to take Smyrna because it literally can't get recaptured in the near future.
Oh, that's true, because Armenia is a fleet. Oh
And there's
boy.
no builds. So
Man, master planned by Olaf. Except it's not I mean, because of his character, we know it's not really a master plan, but like, it certainly works out very well for him. But yeah. Elsa survives this like better than I would have expected because of the lack of convoy to Wales. I think taking North Sea is generally quite important in attacking England, but as France, you don't really want to do it because it powers up Germany more, right? If you support Germany out here, rather than just convoying yourself to Wales, convoying yourself to Wales puts you in the power position, and supporting Germany out kind of raises Germany to be on your level. Unless you convince them to convoy all their armies out of their centres and then run in behind them, I guess.
Yeah, it's I don't know. These defensive moves from Elsa were defensive moves you might expect to see from a beginner, right? Like Norway not supporting Bothnia back into Sweden is kind of set.
Yeah.
Like you want to be defending that or having nothing defending the North Sea. The way that it worked out, right, there were only 2 units attacking the North Sea, and so just support hold the North Sea, and then you're probably fine that way. I don't know. It's just very scared. But okay, like yeah, it's gonna be rough. I think Anna is gonna be all set up for a beautiful step on Marie, and it'll be lovely. And I'm here for that. I am waiting for that day.
Righto. Well, yeah. Okay. Yes. I only really have one note for the stuff preceding fall 1906. And it's that the Eastern Triple are now being very obvious about the fact that they're a triple. Like Olaf just announces it at the table, and then they try and convince Marie basically that they're going to make a move on her, and try and go all out towards Munich. And their idea here is that Munich will try and bounce them in Bohemia. And therefore, it'll pull Munich away from the Western Front. But I think that's a fairly bad idea on their part because Anna is already the bigger threat on that front, right? So you don't really want to be weakening Germany if you're really pushing this triple alliance. They do propose that Olaf could potentially slip into Munich behind if Munich moves to Bohemia, but Olaf doesn't want to do that because he's friends with everyone as per usual, so he doesn't want to take
Marie.
That does include Murray, yes. I think literally the only person it doesn't include is Anton. So
okay.
Yep. That is all I've got for preceding fall 1906. So shall we move ahead to the fall?
Yeah.
All right. Right. Any comments on this one?
Wait, an NMR?
Oh, wait. Yeah, actually, Olaf completely holds on this phase. Eh? Oh, and so does Marie. No, Marie does move North Sea to Norway to protect Sweden. Yeah.
Olaf? Buddy?
Come
on, man. Don't do this to us.
Well, he's in a triple alliance now, right? So he's found all his friends. He's content with where the game is at. And therefore he's going to stop.
Okay, also just tactically, why does Turkey not move Ankara into Armenia?
That is a good question. I think that is just a mistake here, right? Okay, so a potential reason would be that maybe she didn't want to leave Constantinople completely unguarded to Smyrna. But at this point, you're kind of committed to leaving Constantinople unguarded, one way or the other.
Yeah.
She does manage to get the move off to Ukraine, which puts her in a pretty solid position around Sevastopol anyway, right? So maybe it's not that important that she go to Armenia. But yeah. I apologize for the sirens in the background in these videos, by the way. I do live on the main road, which quite often has like ambulances and whatnot going down it because the hospital is just down that way. Anyway, yes. So yes, she does get into Ukraine, and she does have the position around Sevastopol at the very least. Anything else you want to talk about here?
I'm very sad. I don't like seeing Anna attack Elsa.
Oh. I mean, she at least did a pretty effective attack here. Like, well, it's not as effective as it would have been last turn, but it did get into Wales and into Irish Sea, and now Liverpool is guaranteed, right? So that's
but just look at if she just got into Ruhr, right? just the thing about this, then there's nothing defending Munich.
Yes, this is true.
Or Holland.
It would have been really, really strong going in that way.
This with the weird wiggle jiggle to convince people to make mistakes works real well, right? And so you do a little bit of a wiggle jiggle to make them think you're attacking England, and then they leave all their troops, and then you get them.
Is wiggle jiggle an official diplomacy term now?
It should be, right? Because you wiggle a unit or two, right? You do a little, right? And then boom.
Or
I don't know, but
I will start using that phrase like on DBM broadcasts and stuff and try and get it accepted.
If that's my contribution to diplomacy discourse in the future, I will be content.
I love it. But yeah, this is like the problem with our approach towards commentary is like looking at the board. What is the most sensible thing to do here? What should the players be doing here? Blah blah blah. This is a story in which the players are working on personalities and relationships and whatnot. And like in competitive diplomacy, they correspond to the board quite well. Like the same thing happens. People have those relationships with each other and they work off them. But because they always like try and position themselves on the board to correspond with that, they won't generally end up in positions like this where they'll... Okay, no, that's not true at all, is it? Because quite often people do end up in positions where we're going, stab, 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 please, God, stab, and then they don't. Yep. But, yeah, so...
Less frequently than in this game, for sure.
Yeah, this is exactly the point. So in this game, it's happening quite a lot, because the players aren't really looking that much at the board state for who they should attack. They're determining who they should attack and then trying to like move against that person. Which honestly is the case in a lot of casual games. You have people, instead of like thinking my position is this, therefore I should attack this person, it's I want to attack this person, therefore my position should be this, and then they'll move off to there. Yeah. It's the big difference between this game and the ones we usually commentate. Anything else you want to look at here?
Not really.
Alrighty. I've got a few notes here for winter 1906. Marie and Anna discuss keeping Elsa around as a janissary, but Anna says they should just kill her. So Anna is really, like, not happy with Elsa over that whole Belgium thing. She is very determined in just taking out Elsa at this point. They also... This surprised me a fair bit. Like, Marie brings up the major stalemate line, which runs across the board from Mid-Atlantic Ocean up to St. Petersburg. It's, of course, a line in which... Well, I say of course, it's probably not obvious to people who don't know that much about diplomacy, but it's a line in which it's very difficult to break it from one side or the other, or impossible to break it if the units are in the right position. So if you're looking for a solo victory, because there's 17 centers on either side and 18 is the win, you need to cross it before they have the stalemate set up. So they actually have that discussion at this point. They say, you know, there's a stalemate line here. This is Marie talking to Anna. We need to cross it before this triple alliance get their guard up, basically. And they both, like, talk to each other and agree, okay, we'll probably stab each other at some point. That's how the game works. But we need to get across this line first, otherwise this triple alliance is going to win. Which is really accurate to competitive diplomacy, actually. There's a lot of this, I know that we're going to stab each other at some point in the future, but it makes we have to work together right now because there's a bigger threat going on, right? Or there's a more important reason to be working together that kind of makes it so that there's no sense in me stabbing you. Your thoughts?
Hey, that's a reasonable pitch. It's just I don't know how effective that pitch is in the context of this game, but if it works, it works.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good pitch. It's as you mentioned, I think Anna could just run over Marie completely in this position, and therefore it doesn't really work so well because no one in the East actually has that much of especially with Olaf not going anywhere, right? No one in the East is actually that threatening towards getting to the stalemate line. Do you think Olaf is going to set up a stalemate line? Probably not, right?
Well, what friends ask him to make a stalemate line?
Yeah, he probably would in that context. And he does have 2 builds coming up, so maybe he would. But yeah, it does kind of make sense. Right. They actually, they also discuss getting someone in the East to break rank out of this triple, and they come to the conclusion that Kristoff is the best shot because he likes Anna quite a lot, and Anna likes Kristoff quite a lot, and therefore they have, like, some rapport that they could use. But I don't think they actually act on that this phase. So shall we move ahead to the winter?
Sure.
Alright. Winter 1906. So, a couple of fleets coming off. Livonia, Baltic. Army Galicia comes off. Olaf builds 2. Army Naples, Fleet Rome. And Army Berlin gets put down.
Usually you build army in Rome and fleet in Naples, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, you usually also don't have Fleet Venice. This is exactly the reverse of the initial Italian starting position, right? It's actually an interesting question. If you started as Italy with these units, what would you do?
Be very sad. I think my first turn is going to end up pretty similarly most of the time, right? Just Naples to Apulia, Rome to Tyrrhenian Sea, and then Tyrrhenian Sea to Tunis. It's sad that you can't influence what happens in Greece at all, but...
Yeah. It's also, like, sad that you can't do the Lepanto setup when you convoy to Tunis. I mean, you can, but you're not in Ionian, and therefore it doesn't really work.
Yep.
Unless you talk to Austria and get, like, Venice to... and just move Venice out to Ionian, but then you're taking a bit of a risk by doing that.
And then instead of in the normal key, if you do this, you have your fleet in Aegean, your fleet is... No, it's not very set.
Yep.
It's not very set.
Yes, so this is why you don't usually see Italy's with this configuration of units. They're not very good in this order. Although, like, Fleet Rome still works, it's just that, like, Army Naples is a bit useless if you don't have anything in the Ionian.
Yep.
Alright, and Army Berlin, comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you assume there's no way that Anna could ever attack you, it's fine.
Yeah. Obviously, I guess... well, I mean, I guess looking at the moves so far, it does look like Anna is unlikely to turn an attack. She is quite dedicated to killing Elsa right now. So... Sure. Oh, we have to do power rankings. And they've actually changed quite a lot now, right?
They have changed a lot, yes.
Okay, what are your power rankings?
Uh, I think Olaf has to be number one.
Olaf is number one. Wow.
Yes.
Even with the units in that configuration?
Who is attacking him?
I mean, no one. That is very true.
Who is ever going to attack him?
Also, no one, by the look of it.
Does he have huge immediate growth? Yes. Yes, he does.
This
All of
is.
his friends are in imminent growth. So Olaf is number one. Yes, indeed we have it.
So I mean, there we go. What we've learned from this game is if you want to be in number one on the power rankings in 06, you just support everyone prior to that point against each other.
You support your allies into your home centers.
Yes. Oh boy, I forgot that had happened.
Yep. Allies help allies take their home centers from them. Indeed.
Amazing. Who would you put in second?
I don't know. Probably Anna.
I think I'd
she's
agree.
France.
It is a pretty decent France position. It's like it's not as good as it could have been, but that doesn't change that it is quite good, right? You're getting Liverpool still, and like once the English units start coming off the board, you have a pretty good good route of expansion there.
Yep. And Germany's not a huge threat. Germany still only has 2 northern fleets equal to you. So once England dies, if you get more fleets, then you kind of win. So it's fine.
Yep. Who would you put after Anna?
Turkey, I guess.
Yeah, I think that would have been my choice as well. It's like the Turkish position is not amazing because they've given Smyrna to Olaf, but at the same time, they're probably stronger than Germany here, and they also like Olaf is not actually an evil genius or anything who's going to go for them, so it probably works out fine there. And then I guess fourth must be Marie, right?
Yeah, I mean the 7th instead of Germany. How can that be any lower?
Yes. Oh, I just realized. Yeah, we have things out of, like, seriously out of supply center order. We've got.
Well, there are 3 people at 6 that are 1, 2, and 3, and then Germany is at 7 after them. But that's because it's Germany.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. It's like if you're not embedded in a corner, then you're automatically kind of a bit weaker. But yeah, and then we have the bottom 3. What order would you put them in?
I guess Kristoff at the bottom.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then Anton and Elsa.
I guess I would put Anton above Elsa.
Okay, Elsa really has had a fall from grace here from 1st to 6th on the power rankings in 2 years.
It's okay. She's not actually going to get eliminated. I believe in Elsa.
Right, so. Alright, well, there's our power rankings then. Olaf the Snowman has come through and is now in 1st as Italy. And then Anna, then Tosia, then Marie, then Anton, then Elsa, and then Kristoff, who has been solidly at the bottom throughout, except for on the very first phase where I had it in alphabetical order, where he was at the top. Well, in alphabetical order by country. But yeah, so we are moving into now spring 1907, which I don't have any notes for, so shall we just go straight ahead?
Yes.
Alright. Spring 1807, even. Right, Sevastopol falls, but...
Why are they taking from the Black Sea instead of Romania?
Yeah, that is the first thing that stuck out to me as well.
Moscow would be guaranteed.
Yep.
Read. This is my angry Marcus noises.
I would also be, like, well, yeah, I am not very happy about this either. if you don't want to take from Romania, you convoy up from Ankara, right? You gotta put an army there. The fleet is just it stops you from so much of an advance, because not only does it mean you can't take Moscow this phase, you can't even cut Moscow, so you can't go for Warsaw either.
If they work together, yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit painful there. Uh, but yeah, the much more movement happening on the other side of the board. We do see Vienna getting pushed up to Bohemia, so this triple alliance is starting to move towards the stalemate line, and so is Germany here, going down to Cilicia, but still no major movement yet. Most of the major movement that's happening here is in England, which, do you want to talk about what's going on there?
I mean, Anna's continuing an attack, but with only 2 fleets, it does remain annoying to go against England. You want to have more fleets than that. Meanwhile, Elsa is just kind of being very sad, and so Marie is just happily growing.
Yep. That seems accurate to me. And Marie actually retreated earlier. Like, she made a forward retreat into the Norwegian Sea from north, and that's actually worked out pretty well for her here. Taking Norway, and is still in a pretty good position to like poke at the English centres. Yeah, that's pretty much all the movement on the board right now. So, shall we just go straight ahead to fall?
Yeah, let's see it.
I should mention here, in advance of the fall phase, Anton offers Janissary for Tosia now, saying he'll lend her support if she goes to Warsaw here, in return for keeping him alive. Which actually means that the fleet might not be that bad, but as we see, if we move ahead to fall here, he doesn't actually do it. So, this may be a common theme that you have noticed from Anton at this point. He is pretty much continuously, well, not continuously, but quite regularly, he has said he's doing stuff that he does not actually do, and it doesn't really provide him any kind of advantage. So, yeah, quick note for actual diplomacy, don't do that. It does make sense in that it's setting up his character as kind of an untrustworthy person in this story. But trust is like the biggest thing you can have in diplomacy. If you're gonna break it, do it for a good reason. Yeah, and then Olaf, he likes the concept of convoys, which is why Naples is going across to Tunis here. It is just that. There is no more reason behind that. I don't really have any more notes on the fall phase, so do you want to comment on what's going on on the English front?
I love the convoy into Belgium. I think it's adorable. Like, gotta do what you gotta do to stay alive, and this is great. It's just, when are you gonna attack Marie, eh?
It's like, it was unlikely to work, right? But it does actually end up working out, and it's if you're in a position like this, you might as well do crazy stuff and just see what works. Yeah. I don't think I like Anna's convoying a second army over to Liverpool here. That feels like too much of an army commitment at this point, given you were already in a pretty neat position for taking stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else here, or shall we just move on ahead?
I mean, we can clearly see that army in Romania sucks.
Yeah. Sorry, in what? In Romania? Yeah.
The
Yeah,
army in Romania.
yeah, because, well, it's more that the fleet in Sevastopol is horrible,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It could be the fleet. It could be an army in Sevastopol, but instead it's an army in Romania. And you can't even say this army in Romania is doing anything useful because it's literally just holding.
Yes.
So no, that unit sucks. And it would be great if it was someplace else. This whole thing wouldn't have happened if it was someplace else. But it wasn't. Very
Yep.
sad.
Yeah, but they are for now stuck because of that. Um, we will see if they can figure out that moving the army into Sevastopol helps quite a lot. But yeah, so let's move ahead to the winter of 1908 here. Sorry, winter 1807. I am so bad at these dates.
Sure.
So both fleets come off the board here. I think the colouring on London is a mistake. That is still an English centre at the moment. So North Sea and London come off. England's still... But basically, England is disbanding to mess with the French at this point, right? Which is 100% fair, given what's been going on. And is something that happens in competitive games as well. And Anna builds Fleet Marseille. Any thoughts on that one?
I mean, seems a little weird instead of building a fleet in Brest, but whatever.
Yeah, it's possible she predicted that English Channel would come off, which I think is a kind of okay prediction. You would think that North Sea would stay on, maybe?
Yeah, and look, it's better than an army, all right? So who cares?
Yes, this is true. And I guess you know that the East is in a triple alliance, so you're going to need something down south eventually. This is assuming that Olaf does ever come for you. But yeah, and then Army Constantinople from the Turk. I mean, it's in position to push Olaf out of Smyrna if they wanted to, but I have a feeling that they will not.
Sure.
Right. Okay, have I got... So, I've got spring 1908, well, 1808. They, just before that, they do approach, like the Western powers approach Kristoff and basically say, hey, are you willing to break up this Eastern Triple Alliance? And he said, well, this is Anna approaching him specifically, and he says he'd be willing to do it for Anna, but not for Marie. So he's willing to do it if Anna needs it, like when it's obvious that Anna needs it, but not if it's just, hey, this is, I'm helping Marie keep Munich or whatever. That is the only note there. There is a lot going on in the story during this point, as a heads up. It's just a lot of it isn't related to the board, so it's not in my notes.
Sure.
Yeah, shall we go ahead
And
to...
I assume we're kind of reaching like the climax. We should be nearing the end of it.
Yeah. We'll see. There is something important that happens, like, after the fall phase in this one. But let's move ahead to the spring first.
Sure.
So, spring 1808.
Poor Elsa.
Yep. That didn't work out very well for her. But this is what you do if you are attacking someone in competitive diplomacy, right? You do everything you can to take them out as quickly as possible, so that they cannot do anything for retribution-wise against you.
Yeah, they're not usually like Kristoff, who says, "Yeah, it's fine that you have my home center. Go for it."
Yes, indeed. But yeah, so Elsa is in a really bad position here. Her army gets forced disbanded. Kiel moved to Ruhr even to make sure of that. And yeah, this is... an English Channel gets bounced out of Brest. Amusingly, it could have gone to Mid-Atlantic Ocean here, and then it would have had a free Portugal. So Irish Sea maybe should have covered Mid-Atlantic Ocean instead of tapping... Actually, no, it needed to tap English Channel, right? Because of the potential of support holding Belgium. Yeah, you could do that in the fall. Well, whatever, it's semantics. It's like, it's not that important.
Okay.
But yeah, so overall, the important thing, Elsa is not in a good position right now.
Yes, that is confirmed.
Yes. And then the other movement that's happening here is Turkey forces through the Cilicia part of the stalemate line, right?
Yeah, it's a break.
It is.
Warsaw's probably going.
Aye, there are.
Man,
Sorry, go on.
this could be so much easier.
It is like Rum moves to Bud here, which is just so. Please move that to Sevastopol instead, please. Like Budapest, you could have just done Romania to Galicia, and it would have resulted in the same end position as this one. Yeah.
Yep. Or, more importantly, you could have moved Budapest to Galicia and then Romania to Sevastopol.
Yes.
Ooh.
That would have been a lot nicer here.
Yeah.
But given they aren't keeping the fleet in Sevastopol, this is a decent break that they've managed to make. And it was a good approach, cut both sides, make sure that they can't defend it. They could have protected it with a cut on Bohemia, but it would have been a bit risky to do so because of the possibility of the Triple Alliance going for Munich. So, yeah, here we... like that, they do make it through, and Warsaw is probably gone. Although there are some guesses that can happen on this next phase.
Yeah, to slow things down a little bit.
Yeah. So there's some important stuff that happens here in the lead up to fall 1908. Anna and Marie have a discussion where they say, "Hey, after this phase, we're going to be." I think it's like 9-7 in terms of supply centers, because you're taking London and you're taking Belgium here. Although, oh yes, and because Germany is losing Warsaw even. That's why. So it's going to be 9-7. Marie basically requests, hey, can we have an even distribution here? Are you okay for me to take Edinburgh? And Anna says, yes, sure. And then Anna and Olaf have a discussion. And they agree to bounce in Spain as their starting thing. Olaf is like going, "Oh, I want to be your friend, so I'll do what you want me to do, and I will bounce in Spain." And Olaf does also say to Anna that Tosia said that Edinburgh is in trouble, and Anna goes, "Well, yeah, okay, it's fine. That's something I've agreed with Marie." I'm giving up Edinburgh. And Olaf says, no, Tosia was really insistent that it's properly in trouble. It's gonna collapse your line in some way. And that makes Anna start thinking, uh-oh, what's going on here? And she notices that Denmark is still in Denmark. There is an army there. So she is now thinking, oh, hang on, what if Marie convoys into Edinburgh and then I have a bit of a problem, right? Although, it's not that much of a problem, because you've got two armies on the English mainland anyway. But it sparks her paranoia. So keep that in mind going into the next phase. If we move ahead to the fall of 1908. Alright, thoughts on this one?
Well, English Jones Gascony is a nice one.
Yeah. This was Anna basically saying, I don't care. Sorry, Elsa even saying, I'll enter an invalid move for the last one, it's fine.
Oh yeah, Anna did completely stab Hans, or Marie, and now they're dead.
Yes. This
all
is
over.
The big one. It wasn't even a good stab. It's like you had the potential to stab horrendously for the last however long, and then you do it by hitting me rare and doing nothing else.
Yep, but now Marie's line is broken, and they're all gonna die.
Yes, this is a very painful one. So, yeah, basically, if Anna hadn't cut Ruhr here, then the line holds fine, right? Because Ruhr holds Munich and Bohemia and Tyrolia hold, can't get in. But yeah, Marie ends up losing Munich, and I think you can imagine what the post-phase negotiations are like, or reactions.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep.
I've been in rooms like that.
Yep. The note I've got here is Marie is extremely frustrated, which I think is a pretty accurate description of what I would be in that situation.
Yeah.
It's like it hurts so much more when it's like
Not even getting them something, yes.
yes, exactly. It's just a stab that someone has been talked into that has no benefit for themselves whatsoever and just hurts your position. But it absolutely happens all the time, right? This is
Yep.
yeah.
Feels terrible.
It says they basically she pulls Anna aside and then she goes through like why are you attacking me here? Why did you do this? What did you possibly gain out of this? And she said, you know, well, first off, you kept your wait, no, so she went through a bunch of things. She said the Edinburgh proposal was suspicious, wanting to trade that, and basically having me leave it open. Moving to Ruhr in the first place was suspicious, although Marie then counters with, hang on, we did that to blow up the English army that was there. So, yeah, that was actually reasonable. Talking to Russia was suspicious, which, yeah, that's not really suspicious at all.
Hey, I love that line.
And staying in Denmark was suspicious, and Marie replies, that was a misorder on that phase. That's, you know...
I mean, if your best defense was, I misordered, you got some problems.
That is true. But in any case, it's convincing enough that Anna is, like... Okay, no, actually, sorry. Marie then finds out that Olaf passed Anna this info and said basically Tosia had said this stuff, and then she was like, you know, that if you hear this sort of stuff and it originally came from Tosia wanted you to know that for a reason, right? She's broken up our alliance on purpose. And I was like, oh, right, that makes sense. But yeah.
Funny. I'm glad that was convincing enough.
Anna actually like gets really upset that she fell for Tosia's trick at this point. And Anton turns out he has a like reasonably nice side because he comes up and starts consoling her by revealing that in his first game he managed to die as Franz at the end of 1902.
I mean, that would be a very effective method of consoling someone who plays the game a lot. I have no idea how effective that would be at consoling Anna in this situation, but hey, if it works, it works.
I was just amazed that someone could lose as France by 1902. That is, like... So they do actually like have an explanation for this, in that Anna says, "What? How did you do that? You've got Spain and Portugal, right?" And he was like, "Well, I was playing with some superior officers, and they told me not to go for it." But yeah, it turns out Anton does have like a nice-ish side. But yes, and then after the like emotional turmoil that happens as a result of this phase, they all agree that the game has gone on for far too long. So they're gonna they note that both alliances at this point, the France, Germany, Russia one and the Turkey, Austria, Italy one both have 17 apiece. So they say they'll play on, but only until one of those alliances has 18 between them, and then that alliance will have a group victory.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Which is... It's
alright, with that we can call it a video, because we're done. Like, there's no way we're gonna analyze these, like, group team game diplomacy nonsense. That's not how diplomacy works.
I mean, it doesn't go on for all that much longer, right?
Fine,
but
watch these people play team diplomacy. Ugh.
So here's the thing, right? This is, like... It's really, really painful to see as someone who likes watching competitive diplomacy / playing competitive diplomacy. But this actually does, like, in most of the house games I've had, there has been a point where people have gone, this has just gone on for far too long, let's just stop. without a reasonable conclusion. And
Taking
so,
into consideration, but then to have the game end, it's because you say we can't play anymore. We're out of time, not, oh well, we're not gonna stab anybody else because we're too much friends here. Right? It's like, were you not friends with the people that you've played with previously? Like, anyways,
yeah.
I am irrationally angry about the ending of this diplomacy fanfic.
Right. Well, I will.
Let's go through. Let's go through it fast. Let's finish this up because.
Okay, wait. First off, I will very quickly edit the power rankings to remove Elsa because she is dead.
Yeah.
Well, not like dead, but off the board dead. And
Oh,
then
gosh, I'm pretty sure she literally died.
and
I
then
haven't read the
will
fanfic, but that's the only way that someone can be removed from this. I'm sure.
100%. I'm sure. Yes. So I will just rearrange the power rankings to make the teams obvious. These are not indicative of who is more powerful. This is now just who is on which team. So Anna, Anton, and Marie are on one, and Tosia, Olaf, and Kristoff are on the other one. And then we go into winter 1808. Now, I actually don't have any more notes on the game from this point forward because all of the discussion that happens is around things outside the game. They are literally just like... There is a whole chapter after this, but it's not about the diplomacy game anymore. This is just like tactical wrapping it up. So, there are a few builds here. Anything you want to talk about, or should we just whiz through?
I mean, like, if we're just considering this a raw tactical thing, we can do some work on it. Like, how would you actually try to play this game if you were working as part of an alliance versus not, like, to handle the stalemate line? Because if that's all there is, we can look at that. Pretend it's a 1v1 game now with one alliance versus the other one.
Yeah.
But, like, you're never going to get into positions like this where you are...
You can't really ever treat a diplomacy game as a proper 1v1. In this circumstance, the narrative makes sense behind it, but, like, it's... If you're in an actual diplomacy game and someone pitches, hey, we need to make it so that our alliance has 18 between us, so let's do this, they are probably manipulating you into doing something that's better for them than it is for you. Because there's no reason why your alliance needs 18 rather than, like, just... So your alliance having 17 is basically the same. So, yeah, like, do you want to do board analytics on this, or...
Honestly, not really.
I mean, okay,
Like,
so key centers. Munich is going to fall, right? There's no way
Yeah.
to keep that. Moscow probably should have fallen, except that there's no army in Sevastopol.
yeah.
So it's kind of tough on that front. So actually the West has a very easy victory here, because if they take Munich, they just win. Take Munich and hold Moscow for a phase, and then they're good.
Yeah, and Moscow's not going to fall once they get to 18, so
Yeah.
that does seem like it's it. Should be, anyways.
Okay, well, let's go to Spring 09. Here.
That doesn't think we on cover Spain. Now there's nothing. Okay.
Yeah, so, like, here's the big problem with everything goes as you would expect here, right? The West takes Munich back, except Lyon convoying Marseille into Tunis.
Yeah.
Not Tunis, Tuscany.
Yeah.
That is a bad move. That is a horrendous move. You need to cover Spain in this circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Wait, so that means the game doesn't end.
Well, no. So, okay. Now we've got a position where it is probably going to be 17-17 after this phase, right?
Yeah.
Because all Anna has to do is bounce Portugal, and then you're fine. And reposition units to knock the unit out of Spain. But if we move ahead to the fall, here, she does not do that. She tries to attack Western Mediterranean instead. and that retreats into Spain. So that is the game. And actually, they end up taking Moscow as well.
Wait, the East Spain? Huh?
Okay,
What?
so
They don't defend Spain?
yeah, this is the thing, right? Anna doesn't seem to understand that this is a defensive game at this point, which maybe it's just because she was focused on other things in the story at this point. She wasn't thinking about the game so much. But all the West had to do was bunker up, and they would have been fine and take Munich. But in this case,
take Portugal and Spain at the same time.
Yeah, exactly.
Also Moscow. What?
Well, I mean, Moscow was traded for Warsaw in this case, right? So that doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, it might have been guaranteed. I'd have to look more closely at that. But I don't know, man. Whatever. What an ending. That's a great way for it to go.
But yeah, so the game is ended by Olaf retreating into Spain to get the 18th dot for the East. So Team Sandwich wins. So actually, I have these power rankings in the wrong order. The
Team Sandwich?
Yes, this is from. I think I mentioned it like way earlier in the video, very briefly. But Olaf calls that team Team Sandwich. The
okay, because they were sandwiching Kristoff?
Maybe? I don't actually remember what the reasoning behind it was. But it's also like a very Olaf thing, I suppose.
Yeah, to have a team name. Okay.
So yes.
Well, all right. That's the game.
This is like it's probably a good thing that it ended so quickly in this case, because team diplomacy, as much as I like 1v1 diplomacy, it's not all that interesting to commentate, right? Once you take out the shifting alliances and whatnot, pure tactics is never the best thing.
Yep.
But yeah, so that has been Keep Them Guessing. Did it end the way you were expecting it to?
No.
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 I mean, if you were looking at it very early, I suppose you would have expected Elsa to win, right? Given the power rankings.
Elsa's position was great. And then the game ending with these people saying, "Hey, it's now an alliance game. Whichever alliance gets to 18 wins." Okay.
Yeah, it saddens me as a diplomacy player, but it kind of... I understand it as someone who has a real life.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
In reality, people don't like spending 12 hours playing one board game, generally speaking. Well, actually, some people do. Okay, so people who are playing it casually, I suppose, do not generally like playing the full game. But yeah, if they hadn't turned this into an alliance versus alliance game, who do you think would have won from that position in 1908? Hang on, I'll open a couple tabs.
We have to go back to the board. So we're talking like winter 1908?
Yes, winter 1908.
Turkey?
Turkey is your pick? Well, yeah, I guess they can kick out Smyrna very easily, right? And grab Greece.
And Italy's going to start pushing west. And at this point, Turkey has too many armies and too much going on, so I think Turkey just has a significant advantage.
Nice, yeah. Well, yes, I guess so someone from Team Sandwich was winning either way, I suppose.
I mean, obviously there's a lot of game to be played, right? It's hard to say that for sure if Turkey would win, but that's my prediction.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair prediction. Italy's position is not as good as it used to be at this point in the game. But yeah, so that has been Keep Them Guessing, a fanfiction of Frozen/diplomacy. I would love to see more diplomacy fanfictions out there. I think it's a pretty rare thing.
Yeah, I think there's a ton of potential in this niche that can be explored.
100%. And I'd also like to say a huge thank you to Rayber Mac and Cheese, who wrote this fanfiction, and also gave us permission to do this commentary for our April Fool's video. So huge thanks to them, and you can read their fanfiction in full at the link in the description. Throw them a kudos on there.
Is this the first time that we mentioned that this was a fanfic? That this was our April Fool's?
Oh yeah, it probably is. Well, if you've sat through like 2 3/4 hours, you've discovered the secret that this is the April Fool's video.
Yeah.
It was it was honestly a pretty fun game to commentate regardless. I think there were bits of it that there were too many holes on the board for what it was, but honestly, for the overall, the game had a lot that I would, especially reading it alongside the writing, which obviously you haven't seen the whole of it, but like bits and pieces here, it does pretty accurately represent what would happen in a new player game, or a game with a lot of new players, which are not generally the ones we commentate, but they do tend to go down in this kind of way where there's a lot of stuff going on that isn't necessarily strategically optimal, but it's interesting to talk about regardless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time.